My apologies. Do y'all know I was talking all that time and I had my device on me? My, my apologies. Okay, this is what I wanted to share. Okay, we have a protocol here. When you want to speak, you say may I. And once you're done, you say I yield. And then somebody else can come in and speak. Or you can raise your hand if there's a question. Okay, I wanted to make this announcement before. I don't know if the brother's in here yet. Brother Asar, or known as Wise, or Brother Jerome, have made amends. We have made amends. So therefore,
Hallelujah.
Awesome.
Praise the Lord.
Yes, we have made amends. So therefore, do not be running back, starting sugar honey iced tea, because he's going to come back and tell me, or we're going to get on a three-way. And the same here. We're going to do that. We're going to tear it like a dove.
Just to yourself. That way don't nobody else know. So you can't tell nobody.
So they were going back and saying some stuff that I didn't even say. So, making stuff up. So we've made amends. So we don't have to worry about that anymore. And that's a beautiful thing. It lifted. Oh yeah. Send him some love because he lost his father. Brother Wise has lost his father.
I'm sorry, Brother Wise. I'm so sorry for your loss, and I know exactly what you're going through.
Sorry to hear about that, bro.
I don't think he's in here yet. Is he in here? I don't think he's in here yet.
Remember, since he said he's not going to be, he's making arrangements for his dad. Remember earlier?
He said, but he might drop in and just listen. Yeah, he did say he might drop in and just listen. Yeah, that's what he told me. So I want to say grand royal rising to everyone. Thank you for gracing me with your beautiful presence. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love all of you all, and I got your best interest at heart. I wanted to wait for some more kindreds, but they're not here, so we can start. Is Brother Watton not here, Sister Yolanda?
If not, he'll be on. I talked to him. I think I'm looking. He'll be on if he's not.
Okay.
He was logging on. He had to log on. So he'll be on if he's not on. But we can start. We can just start. Oh, he's on. He's on.
Okay. And I wanted to send out a shout out to our other brother. He's silent. He's quiet. Brother Z. That's all I'm going to say. Brother Z. Good to have you. Good to have you. What else? So we can get started. Okay. We knew some kindreds had some questions about what's going on in the classes and things like that. And those things need to be addressed. So anyone that I need everybody to mute their device. Bernie, I need you to mute your device. Everybody, I need you all to mute your device if you're not talking. You have to have common courtesy to speaker. Okay. So we can get started. We have somebody that is on a device that's not secure. Let me see who that is. Yolanda, that's your audio. Your audio, but it's all good. Your audio. That's what it's saying.
Let me see,
Okay.
can I train? Let me see if I can put it in there.
Brother Noble, are you recording?
I am.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And the recording will be in Video Wakanda. Is Charlie in here? Because Charlie wanted to be a part of this as well. Brother Charlie, is he here? Let me see if I can get Brother Charlie in here real quick. Okay, you can proceed on, Sister Yolanda.
Well, I just wanted to address, like, I want to make sure Wanag can start off, and then I'll go into it after Wanag.
Okay, wait a minute, Wisdom has her hand raised.
Who?
Wisdom Shield.
Okay.
All right, greetings. I don't know how many of you know Noble Phoenix Michael L., but we just want to give Allah glory and honor because he was released from jail. There was 2 years of me being in connection with him on the phone, keeping him encouraged, and he has been released, and he's doing well, and he's in California. So any of you in California that want to reach out to the brother to give him a donation to help him out a little bit, he needs a little help. And I just want to give Allah gratitude for his release.
Okay. That's awesome. Great news.
Well, Wanag, why don't you go ahead and address there's been.
Oh, okay, yeah. I want to speak to the. I guess there's certain people on here. I'm not speaking to everybody. I'm speaking to the parties, and they know who they are. They are having some discrepancy in regards to things are not getting done fast, microwave fast enough for them. And from my understanding, some of them is not registered. And I like to address some of those issues that you might have, so we can push this thing, get it behind us, and we can move forward. Because, like I say, me and Yolanda and a few other people, I know one of them is on here, but I'm not gonna mention his name. But we all been putting things together, trying to do a lot of other stuff. So we've been really tied up. But I think Yolanda has gave everybody enough information where they can start creating stuff and doing things themselves. And from my understanding, that it's a lot of people that's upset because they didn't get the 8886T. And I'm gonna say tonight, I'll draft up a template. You can have the template, but there's other stuff that goes along with that. And you guys, and I'm making a disclaimer on that. You can file it, do whatever you want with it. If you know what to do with it, do with it, because there's other things need to be intact before you can file that form. So I would like to get these people that had these discrepancies to ask these questions. I want to open floor so you can ask these questions and what their gripes or what their complaints, so we can get this, we can nip this in the bud. So whoever you are, raise your hand, and if you got complaints, you got something you want to say on a negative basis or a positive, I need to get that information so we can address this issue and nip it in the bud. Anyone? No one?
I also want to address, we want to make sure there's an open door. So if there's an issue, instead of going behind talking about things between one another, we should just go straight to the head. Come straight to Chief Wanag. Our numbers are there, our email are there, are both there. And the thing that I think, or that I see, is that there's an issue with the comprehension. So anyone who feels that they have not received what they thought they should have received needs to address individually what it is. I know there are some that are concerned about the trust. So, and that we don't do trust. If you look at the definition of the word farm, there's one farmer. If you have a trust and you have one trust, one trustee, one trustor, one beneficiary, one grantor, you collapse the trust. So you can't have a trust playing in this game and operate effectively. So the only entity that you can have one farmer on one farm, which is your municipality, which is the entity, is an LLC. And so anything that we've said that you don't see happening or that you don't see happening fast enough, just address it. And things not happening fast enough, everyone needs to know that what we're doing, no one else is doing. You can look and see, but we're giving this stuff out at real time. That means that instead of sitting on these calls talking, we could be out there doing it ourselves. So it's not like we're out here just sitting around and just playing. We're out here trying to do ours while we're trying to share and in real time help everyone get their issues addressed while we address ours too. We're not out here sitting on crowns. We sitting out here fighting fires too. We fighting oppressors too. We're trying to help everyone while we're fighting at the same time. So it would be a lot easier if we could just come to just say, this is what it is. I mean, just say what it is. Ain't nobody got their feeling gonna put on no panties. I mean, we wear some, but we're not gonna put them on. We just doing what we have to do. Whatever the issue is, bring it to the table. Let's address it. We don't have time to, between ourselves, have any animosity or any issues. We all need to be on the same page. We're the ones that have the biggest fight. And so we can't fight amongst ourselves. So we want to be able to have everything on the table, lay it out. If there's any issues, any discrepancies or anything, bring them out. Don't talk about them, just bring them straight to us so we can address them and move on. That's our goal, to continue moving forward, not backwards. So that was all we wanted to say. If there's anything that anyone has that they see that they were expecting or they want to see different, address it so we can deal with it and move on. So, I mean, that's really all we wanted to say. And then I wanted to have the doc give you guys an overview about the mortgage, being that everything that you do on your farm is a mortgage, whether it's your house, your credit card, your car, whatever, like a student loan. So if anyone has anything to say, please raise it now. Otherwise, I'm going to let him start in so that we don't waste any more time. Okay, I yield to the doc.
Yeah, good evening, Yolanda, and everyone else. I wasn't expecting to talk. I just was going to listen. But you know, what do you want to discuss, or what's the
Okay,
situation?
so so Zadok, just so anyone that is not familiar, when I first told you guys that I lost my house on a 2-letter word of, he's the one who showed me that I couldn't read. Went to college, bachelor's science degree, and worked in all the technology companies and couldn't read 2 letters. That's why I took you guys to the farm, because if you don't learn how to read and use the dictionary, you're never going to win in the game. So he simplified all the stuff I've been trying to do, which is a whole bunch of stuff, because he's more advanced and he has more knowledge and he has more comprehension. The more comprehension you have, the less you have to write. So that's why I wanted Sadak to come in and talk about how simple it is to have a no trespass sign up on your farm based on what you write.
And that's true, because I learned a lot of stuff from the brother as well, in regards to words and definitions. Because definition plays a big major factor in everything we do. So if you don't understand certain type of words and definitions, you're gonna lose in the game. So yes, he's real knowledgeable about that, and you know, I mean, I give my hat goes off to the brother. So you know, hey, I yield the floor to him.
And the thing about it is that you're not going to get another opportunity to have, he probably won't, you heard him say he didn't want to talk. So he's doing this out of grace because he doesn't normally do this. But so when he's going through it, when I can attest to it, listen to the words he's saying and use that 1828 dictionary. Because when he writes, he has such great comprehension because he knows the words, you have to look them up in order to know what he's saying, but he's going to make it simple for us. So I just would like for him to just kind of go through maybe the doc, like how many docs there are, and then identify them and what each one is going to do.
Well, listen, I'll share this. I'll share this because I spoke with Yolanda and what's her name, Maria, Moran. I don't want to.
Yeah, Maria.
I don't know why I want to keep calling Maria, but forgive me. I just tell y'all this. what I've come to learn and do real fast is understand that everyone knows that they signed a promissory note, which is the same amount of what was claimed you was extended in credit. And the promissory note itself is money. That is money. Um, Not to confuse you, but when you apply for credit and you extended credit, that means you owe. So with credit on the right hand side of the ledger, you owe, and a minus sign on the left hand side of the ledger means you're owed. So upon being extended credit, you owe, and upon you issuing a promissory note, you're owed, and those two balances zero each other out. Now, any and everyone can go look at their deed, their mortgage, any contract that you have as an installment or installment equipment, and you're gonna see that it has words like hereby acknowledge receipt. And that's very important to comprehend that they acknowledged past tense your receipt, but no actual receipt was ever given. Now, as I explained the other night, the problem is we don't understand that we're the principal and they're just the agent. Whereas though ER as a suffix added to any word is an agent or a person. So, as I stated, man, female, and male buys and sell. The moment you add a seller and an agent to, seller and a buyer, those are agents. So, we tend to believe that an agent has given us something when all they did was prepared our paperwork. They used their
Doc,
letter.
can you focus on that a little bit? I want to, pardon me for interrupting, but I want to make sure they got what you just said. Listen to what he just said. He told you everything with an ER at the end is an agent. Okay, so everything with an ER at the end is an agent. Okay, now, how many agents are you going to let on your farm? So think about that on the farm, from a farm perspective. If you have a trust, you have a whole bunch of ERs, ORs, trustor, you know what I mean? Grantor, ORER. Look at the different titles. Each one of those is a title. He just told you that you're issuing and you're buying and selling out of your own estate, but you have an agent. Okay, I just wanted you to I want them to see when you say agent and you have those ER at the end, that suffix, you're telling which player is on the board. The doc is showing you which player is on the board. He's telling you that there's multiple agents. Now you have to play the right agent. And so when you play the right agent, he just said, we didn't give a receipt. He just said the receipt. He said, when you played that player, you had that note. That was an instrument. And then the way that you signed as the agent on that note made you liable. And now he's telling you things that you have to do so you can undo what you did because you allowed them to trespass. So I'm sorry, I wanted them to get that agent part down pat.
All right, so the bottom line, an agent is an artificial person. And that could be a broker, that could be a realtor, that could be a dealer, this can be an attorney, could be a banker. Anyone that's playing a role is an artificial person, but you have to know that you control a natural person. So the artificial person as an agent for an agency prepares your paperwork, but it's actually your paperwork. It's your promissory note. And they acknowledge the receipt that you never gave because that agent you can also call your trustee. That's why when they foreclose, they say as, like, similar, equivalent to trustee. And what I'm saying is as is the word like, similar, equivalent, those are all the same. So if you have a trust, which everyone likes to use that word, you have to give the trustee your assets so you don't be held liable. And a receipt is really the asset that allows you not to be liable. When you issue the receipt, whoever holds in the receipt has to account for the same. So we never issue a bill of sale describing the property, which was the promissory note, transfer to your agent, which is actually the buyer. And that's the problem that we're all having in any mortgage dead pledge situation. The trustee, your agent, your lender, you know, they haven't been given the asset to sell. what they've done is taken the promissory note, the asset, the money, and installed you by procuring it with the deed or the mortgage, which was incidental to the original contract, which was the promissory note you signed. And since you signed, I promise to pay without giving the order to your lender, pay to the order of your lender, you're the one that has to still make disbursements to the payments because we allowed them to procure. They use the term procurement. You can look this up. Every state has a procurement program where they procure your promissory note, which is really taking it and install you to make payments on your own note and interest. So the key to this, what I've learned in the last few months that makes things real easy, is to issue a bill of sale to transfer that original asset that's not recorded in the county. That's why they call it a record of deeds. They didn't actually record the actual deed or the promissory note. They just record the procurement of it and reference it in a deed or a mortgage. So I've come to learn the key to this is a bill of sale. And they don't act right with that. It takes what I've come to also learn is called an extraordinary writ. And an extraordinary writ is four of them, but I'm not going to get into that right now, even though if I just put it out there, it's something y'all can look into, get a better understanding of it, and maybe I'll come on and talk again. But the key to this mortgage and foreclosure is transferring the asset that never was transferred, although they acknowledge with a D is always past tense, a receipt that you never gave. You're selling a promissory note. Your lender is actually one who makes a trade of your note, putting it to interest. And they made a trade of your note to a bank and put you to interest to your own note because we don't understand that a borrower is always an instrumentality. Yolanda's telling y'all about your dominant estate and your servant estate, where she's speaking of this farm. But I'm gonna just tell you real simplistic. The certification of birth, and I think y'all should write this down, even though y'all probably get a recording of it. That certification of birth is considered a living trust, and it holds equitable title to use credit. So it's always the creditor as the buyer, and your social security account number is a cesticate trust, which is a beneficiary holding value in secondary position, which is the seller that transfers the interest, the contract. So you're basically buying and selling out of your own account with those two entities, and everybody else as a third party is only a processor to those instruments or to the transaction. So it's important to understand, as I say, living soul, living trust, K trust, because the man, female and male, is the spirit, the mental that should control his buyer and his seller. And like I say, when you really understand it, pay to the order of is asking whoever the word, whoever comes after the word of, pay to the order of, that's the drawee, and that's the payer. And that's usually your certification of birth state file number that's under a banking entity or a controller that's controlling the interest, because if you accept the pay to the order of something, you're extending the face value, which is the credit, to get the principal, I mean, the interest and the principal at maturity of the time of that instrument, if y'all understand what I'm saying. And if whoever don't, who not comprehending what I say, I'm gonna say it again, but this is very important for y'all to get. Every last one of us has had a persecution called a job. And on that job, you are getting bills of exchange written paid to the order of in the form of a check. And a check, by definition, is a corresponding cipher of a banknote. So your checks are banknotes written paid to the order of, but that makes you the drawer E on the check. And the drawer E is accepting to extend credit, which is the face value on that check, so they can get their principal back and interest at maturity, rather it's overnight, 4 days, 30 days, 30 years, whatever the case may be. You're
Doc,
accepting. Yes.
can I please? I want to make sure they have this because you said so much so fast. I want to go back to a couple things. Number one, a bill of sale is to transfer the asset. Why are we transferring the asset? He just told us there's a cesticate trust and there's a living a cesticate trust, which is the Social Security, and there's a living estate trust. Now, remember, there's 3 types of players. On the top, where your mind and your spirit is, you have life. And then at the flesh and blood is where you live. And then at that person's, that's where they have a civilly dead. So he just showed you 3 types of players. And now one has life, one lives, and one is civilly dead. So if you have a living, he just said living, that would be where they're showing the flesh and blood coming in. And then he just said, pay to the order of. So this is what he's saying. When you look at your instrument and it says pay to the order of XYZ, think about it like this. I'm the king, and I said, pay to the order of Dr. Pepper, $5 from my estate. Now, my estate is a sale of my note. He said, you transfer the asset. What is the asset I'm transferring? My interest. What is my interest? So that certificate you have, anyone who ever had a job and they gave you shares of stock, they gave you a certificate. But usually the certificate says you have X number of shares, and it says it's worth X number of dollars. Well, we are the king's sons. That means we have a certificate that we get to assign how many shares and how many dollars. And that's what you didn't do. We all gave a blank endorsement signature and gave away our farm. And Zadok just said, you never gave the endorsement, which was the instructions. And the instructions by the endorsement would mean you would have transferred the asset. I'm trading my share of stock based on this living trust estate through the Cesticate Trust Social Security number farm estate in order to get this XYZ in real time. What he's saying is that we're not doing that transfer of the asset, so they're saying we get to pay them in the future, plus they steal our asset. Because we don't realize that pay to the order of means I'm the king saying, I command you to take from my share of stock, and I'm transferring this asset for the sale of this note in this amount in order to obtain this asset. That's what he's saying. I want to make sure you get it. He's telling us that we're supposed to come in and buy and sell off of our own farm by paying to the order of as a drawee. That would be the living trust estate. That would be your birth certificate. And then he's going to tell you the payor. He's saying, when I say pay to the order of, I'm saying, give me back my principal and interest. I'm saying, go ahead and pay that, but send me back the principal and interest because it's coming from my estate. So basically, he's showing you the debit. He said, there's a debit. What's the debit? You had to go take it from my estate. You went and took some of my shares of stock and you traded it. And you traded it by saying, pay to the order of, but you never told them where to take it from. And because you didn't tell them where to take it from, they said, well, then go out there and get a job. That's why he said you were being persecuted. They're making us go out there and work when all we had to do was do a proper endorsement and say, hey, pay to the order of. I'm not going out there and working on that job because I already did my job. I said pay to the order of. That means draw from my estate, but I have to transfer the asset with the what? A bill of sale. Okay, thanks for that.
First, does anybody have anything to say or any questions about what she just added or what I said? Somebody has to say something.
So trusts are agents. Hi, everybody. So we look to business enterprises instead, right? Hmm?
What do you mean, John?
Or LLC?
Oh,
LLC
listen.
in lieu of?
Right.
Okay.
Right. You want to limit the number of agents. You want to play all the roles of the agents. You don't want anybody else to wear the whole. Anybody else that gets to put on the role of the agent gets to control your farm. You want to play all those hats. If you have an entity that you have multiple players, somebody else gets to play that role. Now, we all know that there's things that happen in business when people start getting money and they change. If you let somebody else on your farm, how do you know they're going to do what you would do? The only entity that you can do that on is a sole member LLC. If you get an Inc., you need a CEO, a secretary, a CFO. If you get a trust, You need a grantor, a trustor, a trustee, a beneficiary. You know, you need different players. Some of those can play too, but not no one can play all of them. The only type is an LLC that lets you play all the players on the farm. And Zadok just showed us a whole bunch of players. Everything with an ER at the end is a player. Who you gonna let play that role? Like, you gotta trust somebody if you're gonna let somebody play that role, that means you really gotta trust them. Now we know what kind of the world we living in. Who you gonna trust? Which one of them at least are you gonna trust?
Indeed.
May I? What about sole proprietorship?
It's just like operating in your name. It's a DBA. It's an individual. It's basically you're playing the thing two. There is no thing one in a DBA. There is no thing one. When you have an LLC, it tells you in the Uniform Limited Liability Company Act that the natural person is separate from the entity. And individuals, when they make the natural person in the farm one, you only play thing two. You don't get to move. You don't get to control. Somebody else gets to play your thing one. If you have a DBA, you only playing thing two. A DBA is only thing two.
May I?
Yes.
Okay. They mentioned that the birth certificate is a living trust that holds equity. And I wanted to see if I'm correct in my thinking in terms of my birth certificate. In the bottom left-hand corner, it says National Bank Note. So then he said that the living soul is a living trust, which is the Sesta K trust.
No, I said you're the living soul
Okay.
to a living trust.
Okay.
Possession to use and assess the K trust. That's what I'm saying. Without the
Okay.
living soul, a living trust or assess the K trust can't do anything. So I'm just telling you to be the living soul to a living trust. All right. Without the living soul, the mental, there's nothing. So spirit, by definition, is a vigor of intellect.
Okay.
Spirit
Okay.
is the vigor of intellect. So without your intellect, you don't even control the living trust that's in possession to use with the living soul. I mean, with the Sesta K
That's
trust.
why.
So the Sesta
Okay.
K
No, but
trust has the right to transfer any contract. That's why they always ask you the social security number and all that, and then you sign the papers.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a legal title. See, we have ownership in an e-state, and the word e-state is generally pronounced state. So every last one of us with life are heirs to a state, which is really an e-state. And we are all shareholders as owners to that state. And you order bonds from the issuer called a vital record, which now you become a bondholder. But I don't even want to get into all that. I want to stay focused on, I don't think nobody really heard the pay to the order of, because everyone gets a check, pay to the order of, and they don't understand that's demanding you to issue credit. All right. Pay to the order of is not making you get paid, because pay is to discharge. No one's actually getting paid because we know there's no money. The key to this is, you have the ability to extend credit, which is the face value on the instrument, but you only extending credit to the order of someone to get the interest and the principal at maturity. Rather, that's overnight, 30 days, 30 years. I'm hoping that's something very important that y'all catch on to, because you're abandoning interest. How can you be a customer at a bank when you're making a deposit? How are you not called the depositor, but you're called the customer? Can anyone answer that question? How are you with a bank account called a customer? Because customers buy things, correct? So if you're a customer, what are you buying in the bank? And it all comes down to that most important phrase in a contract, pay to the order of. because that check
Recording in progress.
is a contract. Your checks are contracts. There's a buyer and a seller. That's why you're called a customer. There's a
Okay.
buyer and a seller when it comes to a negotiable instrument. When we don't understand that an endorsement is not just writing a first and last name. That's
Right.
actually a blank endorsement. So if
Mhm.
pay to the order of is written on the back and you accept to extend the credit on the front, you gotta make it payable to on the back, not just write your name.
Right.
Upon making it payable to, you're entitled to the face value credit, and you're entitled to make the bank your debt collector to grab the interest. And we're abandoning our interest, for which a deposit slip is a receipt, for which they're recording the receipt in the Federal Reserve districts. And that creates a bailment relationship for your bank acting as the depositor with you being a customer. So I don't want to get too far ahead, but I was hoping
And,
there'd be more questions than understanding that pay to the order of,
oh,
because
okay.
we don't really grasp of pay to the order of makes you the drawer E. Yes, you're going to
Mm.
get extended the credit, the face value by giving a blank endorsement, but you're abandoning the par value on that instrument. And that's the most important thing that we really don't get. We don't understand that if I write pay to the order of a name on the screen, Nan Johnson, and Nan signs the back with a blank endorsement, he is accepting to buy that instrument at the face value, but he's abandoning the interest on the instrument because he just extended the face value of the instrument. And
Mhm.
that's to me like something very important for everyone to grasp, because that's how they robbing us of our interest. The banks get bailed out because we're abandoning the receipt. The receipt allows them to expand. If you spend $1,000, they're going to do an expansion of $1,000. And then they're going
Okay.
to hold 10% as a reserve requirement. Then they loan us back 90% of our own funds like idiots. That's how they have the reserve requirements under the Federal Reserve Act. The 10%
Mhm.
reserve requirement is not what you actually gave them. It's the expansion of what you gave them, because they put a commercial value on everything because there's no money. We're not
Mhm.
getting par value. If you were getting silver and you wrote a check for $1 in silver, they got to give you 42 Federal Reserve notes or more. If you were writing a
Mhm.
check $1 in gold, they got to give you 1,800 Federal Reserve notes. So they gave it a
Mhm.
commercial value, which allows them to do an expansion, they call it, of 100%. But of the
Mhm.
100% expansion of your face value, they loaning out 9% back to us.
Mhm.
90% back to us and holding only 10% reserve requirements. And this is the reason why the banks are getting bailed out and not us, because we're actually abandoning our par value, giving them a private interest. An interest is the share. Like Yolanda say, you get stock and all that. It's just shares in the company. You're allowed to sell the shares. That's your interest. But we're giving them a private interest in our par value because we don't really understand that. So I was hoping everybody really comprehend that pay to the order of. That is the most important phrase in a contract. If anyone got a mortgage paperwork back, their promissory note, it's always having a line from an attorney or the company as a title company writing pay to the order without recourse, because you have a promise without an order. We put the order on the promise and you won't be liable no more, because that's exchanging the asset. So I don't want to get too deep, but I was hoping, we have more questions on that pay to the order, because everybody get a check. Everybody gets a corresponding cipher of a banknote because your checks are banknotes, National Association banknotes, and you're exchanging them to a promissory note called a Federal Reserve note. And when y'all really understand that this is only balance sheet digital currency, y'all really gonna be floored, but I gotta take it slow. So I want y'all to really understand what that pay to the order of is, because that's major. You fill out an application for a job. Application is an offer to discount your paper for which the job writes bills of exchange that you giving them a permission to discount through their bank account. And you're actually granting the job the face value of the credit for you to get the interest and the principal back, but you're abandoning the interest and your job is taking it. This is how these big firms and corporation CEOs get 25, $30 million bonuses at the end of the year from our abandonment and they acquisition. Because the only way to have an acquisition is if you abandon, if y'all follow what I'm saying. But I'm a yield back.
So how do we not abandon it and the receipt and the interest and our par value? How do we not do that?
Yolanda, you want me to answer that?
Yeah.
Well, I basically just told you is look up the term trade acceptance or banker's acceptance.
Okay.
And upon doing an acceptance to extend credit, you are giving it a maturity date, the instrument, rather it's next day, whatever the case may be. And then
Okay.
you have to give a qualified endorsement on the back, making it payable to your bank account.
Okay.
Now your bank becomes what they call a debt collector. For you though, not for them, because you're not abandoning anything. See, everyone has direct deposit. Hear this and hear this well. The direct deposit is an accounts receivable, direct depositing the interest off your instrument, for which they put it in an accounts payable. So direct deposit is literally stripping the interest off your pay to the order of check from the door. Every time you use that debit card, CARD is an acronym for Certificate of Amortized Revolving Debt, for which the word debt is debit. And you're allowing them to grab the interest off the top. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
There are two hands raised.
Yeah, see, signature card is a promissory note when you sign that bank signature card.
Brother Zion? Oh, go ahead.
You
My
said something
apologies.
about it was two hands raised. You know, they can just talk, right?
Yeah, go ahead, Brother Zion. Brother Zion.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay, so I was gonna actually ask him at the back of the check, instead of pay to the order of, what would he actually have us sign in the back so that we get back the interest and everything? And also, how would he sign the promissory note at the beginning to avoid that problem?
All right, so like I say, when they give us these promissory notes, they only acting like an H&R Block. They only preparing it for you. All right. And you must know that a borrower is always an instrumentality. All right. It has nothing to do with us other than being the heir and has an mental ability to transfer a contract, which y'all can look this term up, forward exchange contract or futures contract. These are the terms they use for your notes, your checks. So when you sign a promissory note to get a mortgage and all that, that is a forward exchange contract under the LIBOR, LIBOR. All right. And you must sign it at the bottom where they want to put your name and all that. You have to do a pay to the order of on that instrument. So if you have I have a promissory note right here in front of me because someone I'm helping right now. And it literally tells you an adjustable rate note, home equity conversion, LIBOR 1 month index as published in the Wall Street Journal rate caps. So, and then it goes on to say notice to borrower. All right. But you got to know right then and there, you're not a borrower. That ER is at the end. You either borrow or you have an agent, a borrower. See, we buy, we sell, we borrow. but we are not a borrower. We are not a seller. We're not an agent. That should let you know right then and there, somebody's changing places. We got an agent in it. So a borrower is an instrumentality. It's a government entity. Every time it's not the man or the female. The proof of that is the name in an all capital D based Latin term, which is a ledger, that name in all caps. But to go back to this note, it literally explains to you that it doesn't even have the name of the man or female that's going to sign it. The note that I have in front of me says the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, because the ones that I'm helping is in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And then they sign it on the back on behalf of the borrower, which is really the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania through the state file number. Because every banker, realtor, any entity is an artificial person with a license. They have a license from the state to impair the obligation of contracts. This is how they impairing the obligations of contracts, Article 1, Section 2 of the Constitution. The state is giving out a license to a banker, a realtor, a broker, a dealer, and they're using unfair methods of competition or deceptive acts and practices because you don't understand that they're just preparing this paperwork. It's really the man's, females and male. So you have the natural person and you have an artificial person. Those are the only two type of persons. The sad part, natural is a fool, and the artificial is an adult. They call that a legal entity. So it comes down to you just understanding that. So when you get down to the bottom, like on the man, female that I'm helping now with their situation, it has their name, they're claiming to be the borrower and all that, and we fall for that. But the attorneys, all they do is an allonge to that promissory note because you signed the first and last name, giving them a blank endorsement, leaving the door open for them to give the allonge pay to the order of without recourse. All right. So they put pay to the order of on this one right here. It has MAS Associates LLC as the lender. But the lender is an agent of the man, the man, female, or male. So the lender is just an agent. It's not their note. It belongs to the one who's going to sign it on behalf of the instrumentality, your state. So understanding that, you ought to give a pay to the order of, as I say, MAS Association LLC on this mortgage is pretending to be the lender. So the power pay to the order of should be the MAS Association LLC. So now you just made pay to the order of them, giving them, mandating them to make the payments. No different than pay to the order of you on a check, because they want to be the lender. A lender is making a trade of your note, putting it to interest. So now you just assigned the note over to your pretender lender, allowing them to get the interest. The principal and the credit balance each other out. Now you're not liable no more on anything. You just did your due diligence by doing the pay to the order of giving the order on the note. This is how simple this is. They are literally, the attorneys or the title company literally gives an allonge for you giving a blank endorsement because you're going to write your first and last name, and that is a blank endorsement. All right.
One more question. Is it possible for us to do a sample of what it would actually look like on paper?
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. No doubt. If I could share the screen.
Please do.
I wasn't prepared for doing this. I'm gonna be honest with y'all.
I know, but you're doing a beautiful job, brother.
So look, let me just show y'all. See, I took the note that I was just telling y'all about. Now I make templates and have everything ready because these attorneys are so stupid. They send me stuff after I put them in shame, and they end up helping me by showing me they dumbass documents. So this right here is an adjustable rate, which they will call a medium note home equity conversion. And the key word is conversion of your equity. All right. So They paperwork literally says LIBOR 1 month index and all that. I added a euro dollar, which is a virtual currency. And your United States dollar is just a digital currency. The Federal Reserve note is not a United States dollar. That's something I'm really going to have to, I mean, no one understands that, but the bottom line is your promissory note is considered a euro dollar. That's why it's under the LIBOR, under London. It's not under the Federal Reserve or none of that. This is all about unregulated paper that the banks are totally controlling on us because we don't really understand your registrar is a bank. The definition of registrar is a bank or a trust company, but it's an institution. So I redid the note that I'm just was telling y'all about. All right. So I'm gonna just go to the bottom of the page. See, this is what's missing, the pay to the order of this association, no recourse with your state file number, with your signature, with your chief cashier truncated, which is your social security account number. That's the chief cashier, all right, as a seller to the purchaser, which is your file number, all right? See, this is how you endorse a promissory note where they just making you put your name and they would just say borrower, but it's an instrumentality borrower for which you're the internal manager. See, internal, that spirit, you should be in full control of your living trust and your Sester K trust, all right? So a LLC is a hybrid entity. It gets to do both things. It got the same powers of the municipality. And this is the reason why LLC and all that be acting as the lender. But they just an agent on behalf of the man who's controlling his living trust, which is the state file number, in possession of his truncated social security number. All right. So this is a note that I literally wrote up the same way the attorneys write it up, but I put the proper terms in there so we can understand what it is. So as you see, this is exactly how this note was. It says the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Why? Because the state file number is what a broker and all of them are substituting for. They're not substituting your social security number. Your social security number is like is a United States Treasury bond seller, because a bond is something someone buys to get for 10,000 to get the interest and they 10,000 back. Well, that's what your promissory notes are, your checks are. You are selling United States Treasury bills of exchange. That's what you're doing all day, every day, without even knowing, understanding it. This is why the most important words in the contract is pay to the order of. These are the most important words. So up here, where they always start off, it lets you know that you promised to do something. All right. Now, how I write, I put the definitions in what I do. So right here, they tell you an instrumentality borrower, and I'm gonna tell you means a natural person signing for your state file number. You're substituting that, you're representing that at the end of this note. Lender, by definition, is who makes a trade of putting this note to interest, because that's your agent, that's what they do, which will be this MAS association, the LLC. And then they say in its successors and assigns. All right. Now, what we don't know is that everything is secured through the secretary, which is the Housing and Urban Development Secretary. Everything is secured from the door. So a mortgage and all that is a security instrument, securing your promissory note. All right. But the promissory note actually already paid. It wasn't really no need to even sign a mortgage. So this is a document that I put together, and I took this straight from the promissory note that I have in my possession from an attorney, trying to shake off what I did with the bill of sale to someone's property. That property was $802,000. I changed the date up and all that because I make my template so I can do what they do without, we can do anything they do without any regulations, because you control a natural person. The problem is you're acting as an artificial person, a legal entity. All right. So this is actually a real promissory note to someone's mortgage. And I'm literally showing them the fraud of how they wrote it up and the words that they're not understanding and seeing. So as you see, I'm telling you now, a digital US dollar denominated deposits in euro dollar, because the euro dollar is a virtual currency. In your United States, dollar is a digital currency, and the banks only use them for balance sheets purposes. All right. The Federal Reserve note comes into existence when we allow them to create fake loans. All right. The Federal Reserve note comes into existence because of loans. If there was no PPP loan, there would be no Federal Reserve notes because no country is taking these shits no more. This is the reason why they did that PPP loan, which is really a private placement program loan like traders use. All right. This is why you have inflation now, but I don't even want to get into that. I want y'all to understand that when anyone go to the mortgage and you get approved and you go to sign that note, you will mess them up by giving the order to pay the note to your pretender lender. Because the lender is an agent and you're the principal. So the principal just transferred it over to the lender. This is how simple this is. Pay to the order of is a single article term as a buyer and a seller situation. All right. So this is the key right here. This is the key right here. This is what they call a bank stamp. Literally. This is the key. All right. So I hope I answered that for you.
May I?
May I? What's the state file number? Where'd you get that?
On your birth certificate, on the birth to bear national debits and credits, you have a file number on there that's connected to your registrar. The registrar signed the birth certificate. The registrar is the one that keeps track of records of you, the shareholder, who end up selling your bonds as a bondholder when you get your bonds from the vital records. So there's a registrar number or a state file number on the certificate of birth. That's what you're supposed to use on all your documents to keep a record, a track of your issuing. We're only giving out that social security account number, which is the seller, the debtor. The debtor has to extend the interest in the principal that you're giving the credit to. So the social security number is the beneficiary. A beneficiary is holding something of value in a secondary position. That's why anybody that goes to court and claim to be the beneficiary, they don't get anything done because that's what they want you to play. They want you to be the one holding the value in a secondary position, which is really the trustee. And in a living trust, you're the trustee and the grantor. The grantor has to eat before any beneficiary. Until the beneficiary dies, to the grantor dies, the
And then
beneficiary is not eating. All right. So on your certification of birth, and the word birth means to bear. So that birth certificate or certificate of birth is to bear the national debits and credits to zero balance out of transaction. We are trillions and trillions of dollars in debt. Guess what? That's a surplus. On the left-hand side of a T in banking, you got the left and you have the right. The asset is the minus, that's the debt. The credit is the liability, that's what you owe. Everyone that has credit in a bank account is showing how much they owe, but we believe that's money. But you were extended a credit, that's how much you owe. But you believe it's money, and you believe it's money because you have the ability to go trade for other things. But I'm about to break something down to y'all. Every time you go to the store, you're selling your promissory note. The proof is the receipt. And anybody that's down with this 1099 and all that, you should understand every $100 bill is $1,000. It's a bond because the official currency here is called the United States currency note, not Federal Reserve notes. All right. So you're selling your promissory notes that you're buying as a customer at the bank over the counter in a cash register. And the proof that it was bought is the receipt. I hope y'all heard what I just said. Because I know that's way off left field. You got
Can you
credit
re-
in a bank
can you
account.
repeat that one more time?
If you have credit, if you went and got extended credit, that means you owe. All right. If you fill out an application and I approve you to extend you credit, that means you owe. So right now, everybody has credits in their bank account. That means you owe. But you believe you have money. Nope. That means you owe. That's why you're gonna debit it out to give someone else the debt that you owe. But if you had a minus sign, that means you're owed. It's the opposite of what we believe. This is the reason why you're supposed to have a zero balance account, because you have a buyer and you have a seller that they call commercial partnership. Your commercial partnership, all you're doing is trading between your buyer and your seller. The state buys from the seller the social security number. The state file number buys from the social security number to get the interest that we abandoning, that they call unclaimed property under the escheatment laws. But I want to stay focused on this. I don't want to get too far ahead. I want y'all to really understand what the pay to the order of stands for. All right. Because you're buying and selling out of your own account. Every check you write, it should be paid to the order of your bank. It should never be your name or another one's name. It should always be the pay to the order of your bank, because they're the drawer E that's depositing your deposit slip receipt in the bank, and they depositing it at the Federal Reserve. You have two accounts right now. If you bank at Bank of America, I don't care where you bank at, Wells Fargo, TD Bank, Citizen Bank, you have two accounts. One account is at the Federal Reserve, which is called a receivable, and one at your bank, which is called the payable. The payable is automatically extend the credit transfer of face value liability, because the receivable is getting the interest, the expansion. So everyone has two accounts right now. And that's being economic and getting away from financing, because I'm gonna just show y'all one more document, and I'm gonna fall back because I was not expecting this. Yolanda is the one that should be doing all of this, not I. I'm gonna share the screen one more time, and I'm gonna just show y'all some definitions so y'all can see for yourself. Like, if you don't know a word, you're totally lost. All right, so is my screen showing?
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right, so economic is pertaining to the regulation of household concerns. See, household, that's a key word, because your surname is actually a British subject, and surname means merchant, as you're going to see going down this page. So economic, you should be managing your domestic or public pecuniary concerns with frugality as an economical housekeeper. So this is their favorite word, economy, which primarily is the management, regulation, and government of a merchant's surname family, or the interest concerns out of, from, belonging to a household. So their economy is the government regulating the interest of your household, because they're not going to teach you being economic. They're always going to teach you to be in finance, which the root word of finance, financial, finances, and financially is fine. See, fine, which is really revenue, which is income of a king. We don't have a king other than the British king, for which the United States is really a British entity, or your state. All right. And the finances to your state is through your licensees and paying the obligation of your forward exchange contracts or your futures of contract. I added this just from the knowledge. I had to put that there. All right. So finances is fines, and everyone loves the finances of being financial. And financial is pertaining to the public revenue as a financial security interest concerns or operations. So everything they doing is economy, regulation, government, which is their operations to security interest concerns. Just flow with me. So finances is a noun plural, which is revenue. Funds in the public. Funds is not money. That's human capital stock certificates. You go to work, you're a human resource. You are a fund. Forgive me. Funds only deal with stocks and bonds. It has nothing to do with money. So funds in the public treasury or accruing to it, public resources from, out of, belonging to money. There is no money. That's why they put of and a lot of stuff beforehand. So it's the income or human resources of individual states. Everyone that's got a job, you go to human resources because you're the human resource of that individual states. I'm being real. All right. So financially is in relation to finances or public revenue in a manner to produce revenue of a state. So everyone loved their finances, financial financing financially, but you don't know a damn thing about economics. Not a damn thing, because you will control the finances, your fines that you're given to the state called a tax. So message by definition, financially pertains to Social Security interest concerns for public revenue finance, the income of a state, by which is through finances from human capital stock certificates of participation funds. Read the Security Act, Trust Indenture Act, and you're going to see this term certificates of participation, because your certificates of participation is your birth certificates. In the public treasury, in the public state treasury financially, in a manner to produce revenue through by a state economy, the management, regulation, and government from a merchant household. That ought to be economic, managing financial fines. See, you're supposed to be the merchant household that should be economic, managing financial fines. And all I did was use the definitions and made a paragraph. So what I wrote right here, you can't even rebut because it's the definitions. It's 100% truth. So being economic allows one to control public financial finance fines. But if you don't know that they only teaching you financial from education, and education is a brainwashing to give you a degree, which is the removal of goodwill. Most who has a degree think they better than those who don't have a degree, which means they remove their goodwill, because DE means remove and gree means goodwill. And most with a degree think they better than those who don't have a degree, so they remove their goodwill by education, but you're not edified. We're all supposed to edify. I'm edifying y'all right now. I'm not educating you. I'm being informative. I'm not giving you information. Look these terms up that we use daily that we really don't comprehend the spells that we're casting on one another because we don't know the terms to words. So economic, economy, finance, financial, finance, financially. Y'all need to really understand these terms and learn to be economic. Get away from finances, financial, finances, and financially, and get out of a goddamn the democracy economy. This is a republic, return public, but they withholding public interest. See, everything is backwards from whatever you've been taught and believe, and it's from education. That's the sad part of it all, because you're supposed to have edification and be edified. And education without being edified is useless. It's only making us all slaves. So look, I didn't expect to talk, and I really came on here to listen. And I didn't come on here to be the focal point. I don't do these things no more. So,
We appreciate it. We appreciate it, Doc.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Hey, hey Doc, what is your Cash App number? Your name, Cash App name. Can you text that to me?
That's what I was getting ready to say. I know everybody enjoyed this. Put the brother Cash App in there, because he didn't even plan on speaking. And not that we do this, but when the information is fire, come on, you got to show your appreciation. I know some can't donate, like me myself, I can't, but those who can, please.
So if you can, so Doc, can you put your Cash App in the chat box so we can get that put that issue for you, so I can I get it and make my donation. I appreciate everything. I know a lot of stuff you already talking because we've been working together for quite some time. But like I say, it's good to give them that information so they can be able to go a little bit farther. So they can understand, get understanding of pay to the order of.
Brother Sadat, that what we were just reading from the definition. Is that any way that you can put that in the chat, please?
Am I still, do y'all see the screen? I'm not muted, am I? Because I'm not sure if I'm muted.
No, you're not.
We
can hear
All right,
you.
yeah, I'll get to that. But look, I just want to show y'all one last thing. This is 12 USC 1813. All right. So the term deposit literally is an unpaid balance because the unpaid balance is the receipt, the deposit slip. So it goes on to all this fluff, unpaid balance of, from money or its equivalent received, held through, which is by a bank or savings association, and the usual course from, which is a security and exchange business. See, everything's about a security and exchange commission business. And for, which is substituting, which it has giving or is obligated to give credit. So either conditionally or unconditionally to a commercial checking, savings, time, or thrift account, or which is evidenced by a certificate of deposit, which is a time deposit. A certificate of deposit is a time deposit of €1, dollar. Thrift certificate, investment certificate, certificate of debtness, or similar name, or check or draft drawn against a deposit account and certified through, which is by the bank or saving association, a letter of credit, da 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 da. So look, this is what I want y'all to really focus on. You ever issue an instrument, you must give a receipt because you're selling it. So it says right here, provided that without limiting the generality of the term money or its equivalent, and he's talking about the banks, they're limiting the term of money or its equivalent. Any such account or instrument must be regarded as evidencing the receipt. All right, go read Modern Money Mechanics and you'll really understand this. The receipt is the most important thing that's of the equivalent of money because the receipt is the first form of paper money. All of us go and we mine gold or silver, we get it in a block. They got to mint that block down to coins. So we're going to take our block of gold to the mint. They're going to tell us how much block we just gave them. We just gave them 10 pounds of block of gold. So they're going to give us a receipt and the amount that they're going to mint that gold down. But while they minting that gold down, all we have is a receipt. Now, upon them minting the gold, you could take the receipt and get all the gold that you just gave them minted into coins. But look, we all want to eat right now. So we're going to transfer that receipt because a Federal Reserve note, your checks are nothing but receipts. And you want to transfer that receipt to someone who has the gold coins now so we can split it up and go our way. Now, we're going to do it for a discount, of course, because no one's going to give their gold to take your receipt when they already have the gold. So we got to give up that receipt less than the amount of the gold we're going to get from the receipt. So you go into a check cashing place with your receipt and they give you gold coins. And the check casher is going to take the receipt and cash it and get the whole amount on the receipt, but he discounted the receipt. It's just like going to a check casher place. I want y'all to really understand what's going on here. Every paper you file and use is nothing but a goddamn receipt. And when we issue instruments, they'll say insufficient funds because you didn't give a receipt. The receipt allows the expansion of the face value of the instrument. And without the receipt, it is insufficient funds because the receipt allows them to do an expansion. See?
So what would be considered to be the receipt, if you don't mind?
How many of y'all go to the bank right now and fill out a deposit slip?
Yep.
How many does it? If you got a direct deposit, you're not filling out a deposit slip, which is the receipt.
Okay.
And they're taking the deposit slip, the receipt, and they're recording it at the Federal Reserve District, creating a bailment relationship. You don't even have a relationship with your bank, but go ahead.
Top of that, they hypothecate your receipt when they go to the federal window.
Yolanda, where you go?
Cecile, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Greetings. I just wanted, you stated, correct me if I'm wrong, that the state file number is the birth certificate, the registered number. But what if you have naturalization papers? Because my birth certificate doesn't have any numbers on it. It's recorded in a book in Dominican Republic, but I do have my naturalization papers and it has a certificate number and also a registered number from New York, the state of New York. So I would use that.
Right. On your naturalization, it looked like a damn dollar bond, doesn't it? It got the dollar
Yes.
trim around it. Right. You
Yes.
got a registration number. That's the same thing.
All right. Thank you so much. That was my question. I yield.
That's the same thing.
Okay.
And that blows my mind when I seen the naturalization joint and it literally has the dollar trim around it. I'll just laugh my ass off.
Yes, it does. Absolutely does.
Neen Ra'il, you got a question?
Somebody, hold on.
Yeah, my question was back to the pay to the order of. In a couple of calls ago, they said do not put to the order of, and I was wondering why they said not to put the order why they said not to put to the order of, just put pay to, and then what's the difference between the pay to and the pay to the order of?
Well, like I say, the order of is a demand on a drawer E. There's always three parties to a check, to a bill, to a draft. There's a drawer, which is the maker. There's a drawer E, which is the payer. There's a payee. All right. The problem is we don't understand those three terms and we never, ever, I don't know how to do this thing, keep going to private, but we don't really understand there's three parties to it. Upon you accepting it, you become the payer to the note.
Yeah, why you have your mic on?
Upon you accepting it, you become the payer to the note. I don't know if I was muted. I was muted all that time.
No,
All right,
everybody wait a minute, hold on for a minute. Everybody who's not speaking, please mute your devices, please. Continue on, brothers of that. Don't put, his Cash App information is in the chat. His Cash App information is in the chat. This brother is giving up fire. Come on, show the appreciation.
This is all good. Look, pay to the order of is a demand on the name that's written after the of. All right. And the only reason why you would accept to pay that face value is to get the interest. So, like I say, all bills are of exchange. Even your bills you get every month is in a general ledger with all of us. All right. And there's nothing but a trade acceptance that needs to be learned to zero balance your transactions. All right. Because as I stated, credit is a liability and debt is an asset. It's the opposite of what we've been taught. Debt is money. It's on the left-hand side of a ledger on a T. The right side is the credit liability. So, like I say, right now, there's a lot of us that have credits, which means we owe. You're going to debit that out to give to someone. That's what it really comes down to. It's all about transferring it's all about zero balancing the transaction. So once again, if you was extended credit by application to discount your promissory note and you signed a promissory note, they supposed to zero balance out the transaction. They wasn't supposed to install you to make non-interest promissory note payments every month. But that's not what they're doing because we never write the pay to the order of at the bottom of our promise, giving it to the lender so you're not held liable. We never issue a bill of sale, which is a receipt that's actually just going to show the description of your thing. Look, I'm gonna give y'all one more jewel of a document. All right. And this is going to explain a whole lot Now, Yolanda used the terms thing one and thing two, because that's what this is all about. This is just thing one and thing two. Everyone else is a third party as a agent, a trustee, you know. So you have a seller, which is a social security account number, and you always have the buyer, which is the certification of birth certificate living trust through that state file number that's keeping a record of everything being transferred from you, the shareholder, also as the bondholder. So I'm gonna show y'all this last document, and as soon as I get to it, y'all gotta forgive me. I gotta. Where the hell is it? All right. So I got the document. Nope, that's not it. Damn it. I gotta. It's not the one I want. I want to show y'all simply what a bill of sale is, so y'all can really see that the bill of sale is describing the property that's to be sold or transferred, which is the promissory note. That is the real property. Your house cannot be collateral. Collateral is always a security. All right. Am I sharing the screen?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this is just a template, you know. So you got to understand what a bill of sale is. All right. You give a receipt number to your bill of sale, which you executed on whatever date you issuing your promissory note. All right. It's just me playing around back to the year of being born, but skip that part. All right. So this bill of sale is executed on whatever date by and between your social security account number, which is your address is really a situs, which is your jurisdiction. All right. A situs. All right. It's not an address. We're addressing one another now. It's the only way we can address one another. All right. But when you have a fiction, you believe you have an address, but it's your situs, which is your jurisdiction for the social security account number. So that's going to be referred to as a seller. So I have the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Treasury here, but you can say Bank of America, your title company, whoever, and they're going to be referred to as your trustee. So they're just a middleman. Now they're the trustee for, which is substituting your state file number, which still has the same address as a social security number because they're a commercial partnership. So hereinafter collectively with your trustee, they're the buyer with both parties in care of the natural person. The both parties is the state file number and the social security number. But your trustee is just a third party on behalf of the buyer and the seller, your two agents. So seller hereby agrees to transfer to buyer all interest rights of seller in the following property. 1,200 certificates of participations, which is American deposit receipts, but we want to say your promissory note procured by the mortgage with the loan account number. So now you just transfer the promissory note that's referencing the mortgage that has a loan number, which is really you loaning them because they put this promissory note to interest. See, so the description of property will be the promissory note that you're giving, you're trading right now to the buyer, and the buyer is your trustee on behalf of the state file number. So I just wanted to give y'all an idea to understand what a bill of sale is because it's actually going to describe the property that is being transferred. See, there's two forms of consideration, implied or expressed. So this will be an expressed, which is you actually describing the property that's being transferred over to the buyer, which is your state file number, on through your trustee, who's ever acting as the lender, the pretender lender. But they always have a license of the state acting on behalf of your file number. All right. The social security number is just the seller. They want to pay back the face value and the interest. That's why they're the seller. The seller is the debtor. The state file number is the creditor. They're going to credit the seller the principal to get the principal and the interest. You're selling bonds, you're selling bills, you're selling notes. All right. So this is just an example that I put out there so we can understand. And I say thing one and thing two because it's about thing one and thing two. That's all there is. A thing is a deed, act, or event. None of us are a thing. We do a lot of things. You know that thing we did 10 minutes ago? See? A thing is a deed, act, or an event. You are not a thing. To believe yourself to be something when you are no thing, you deceiveth thyself. All right. So we must comprehend exactly what's going on. All right. So a bill of sale will transfer that promissory note that was procured in a mortgage that has an account number recorded in the county because they say at far as the property, and at means near, but it's actually in the county recorder. See, they real tricky. At, by, of, as, two-letter words got us stupid. Literally, two-letter words. If you're at, you're near. You're not actually in. You just sold it over the counter. So a bill of sale is a receipt, but a receipt is not a bill of sale because it doesn't describe the property. It's not expressing what actually has been transferred. The bill of sale is expressing exactly what's being transferred. So this is crucial to understand. All right. And I always use 1,200 certificates, which are birth certificates of participation or interest, because they literally called American Depository Receipts. Every last one of us under American with Disability Act. Literally. See, Job Act, American Disability Act. We really don't understand how they really degrading us as a minority. ITY is a state or condition. Minor is an infancy state of mind. So a minority is one who has an infancy state of mind. You're not of the majority. And they love to make Black folks believe they minorities, which means you have an infancy state of mind. It doesn't have anything to do with what you believe. Minor, ITY, state or condition. And most of us have an infancy state of mind as a minority. You got to come up to being a majority. A majority issue their own contracts. This is an indenture. This is a contract. All right. See, the state file number buyer, social security number cashier seller, United States instrumentalities internal manager. That be the man. You're the internal manager to these two things. Thing one, thing two. Yolanda says dominant estate, serving estate. This is what you're supposed to be controlling. All right. See, and witness thereof, the parties execute this bill of sale by, which is through their natural person representative. So you're the internal manager to United States instrumentalities, which is the state file number, which is the birth certificate, and the social security account number. It's not a social security number, it's a social security account number. You're supposed to be controlling these things, these deeds, these acts, these events. You're not supposed to claim you're a person in person. Every last one of us manifest over 18 years ago, I would assume on this. So you cannot appear unless you Casper the ghost. I'm gonna say that again. You manifest over 18 years ago, one day ago. You cannot appear again. You are actually here. So appear is like you being a ghost. Now you appear. You cannot manifest again if you are here right now in real time. So how do you appear in court? Oh, you have to be asleep. And they're practicing necromancy. All rise. See, they're practicing necromancy because we too ignorant to understand you're the man with God and you're not supposed to respect persons, but you take the title as a person. So now you're civilly dead because you claiming to be a person when you should control your person. You have a natural and artificial. You're supposed to control those things. God, man, people, persons, humans. Humans are resources for persons. Persons are municipalities, cities, and counties. They are of the people, which is the state, but the man controls all that. See? Man, people, persons, and humans. in the legal dictionary, a human is considered a monster, don't have no ability to inherit anything of the earth, which is your estate. So I hope y'all get what I'm saying. It's not hard if you just focus and know the words that are coming out of your mouth. Never claim to be nice because you're telling them you're stupid, ignorant, and foolish because you say you're nice. But that's not my opinion. That's the definition of the word. And anyone claims to be nice, that's what you're calling yourself, stupid, ignorant, and foolish. So let's stop being stupid, ignorant, and foolish. Let's honor one another as man and man, female, and male. Honor one another. Forget this respect, which is to view. No one on this call can respect one another because we're not seeing one another. No one can disrespect one another because you're not turning your back on them because we're not face to face. So let's just give one another honor. If we honor one another and treat one another as we want to be treated, we'll walk in equity and stop being in law. I mean, at, of, and practicing law without ever being in law and equity. The key to this is equity. Man's law by God is equity. It's not legal. Legal is 1000% fraud. So I hope I gave y'all some comprehension. I know I said a lot, didn't really expect to speak, but the bottom line is pay to the order of you're the buyer. That's why you're the customer at the bank. You're not even a depositor making a deposit because they're depositing your deposit slip, which is the receipt. You're getting extended credit for what you owe. So I hope I helped y'all out a little something. And I'm gonna yield. I'm gonna fall back.
Thank you,
Right.
brother. I put his wait a minute. I put his cash app in the chat. I want you all to show your appreciation because that brother just dropped some jewels.
May I?
Yes, you may.
So I might have missed it, but I understand he provided the order, the pay to the order of, which is the demand on the name that comes after the of. But I didn't quite hear what he said the pay to was. So if it's not too much, can you just re-explain that one if you did already?
Say that again, man. Say that again.
So I got your explanation of pay to the order of, which is a demand on the name that comes after the of, but I don't recall what you said the pay to meant. So the question was, what's the difference between paid to and paid to the order of?
Because if I actually owe you something, I should write it pay to, not to your order. All right.
Okay. Got
and
it.
it really should be payable to, because payable is ought to be paid, and pay is discharge. So payable to someone, you're signifying make it payable to them that ought to be paid. You're not paying it to their order for them to credit you, credit the man. See?
Okay.
So pay to the order of is a demand for you to credit them so you can get back the interest and the, you know, the face value that you credit them. All right. Your check says pay to the order of $1,500. Pay to the order of John Doe, $1,500. All right. Well, they asking John Doe to credit $1,500, but we believe we're being paid. But they just wrote a bill off of you for you to extend the credit. All right.
So in other words,
a bank account should always write pay to the order of their bank.
Right.
Because the bank is a fiduciary and a fiscal agent of the Federal Reserve District you're upon. All right. The Federal Reserve districts are non-conterminous to any state, which means they're not a part of the United States of America. District 12, California has 10 states in it. So that's called cross-border trading. That is international. Right here, you're in two places at once. United States of America is broken up into 50 states. The reserve districts, 12 districts, break up those 50 states differently. So does every alphabet. So these entities are actually foreign to the United States of America, and that's how they're getting away with what they're doing, because they divided up the United States of America into their piece of the pie, to their puzzle. So the 12 Federal Reserve districts, you can read the act, they're non-conterminous. So that's cross-border trading. You and your state and the city state called a Federal Reserve District. That is a city state. And that's the most important thing to comprehend. That shit is foreign to the United States of America. It blurs the lines of the states. That's why they use the term non-conterminous in the act. So you're actually cross-border trading international from a United States state of America to the Federal Reserve District Bank city states. That's a totally different nation altogether. This is how they're getting away with what they're doing, because they're taking you out of your geographical area, putting you in a foreign trade zone, which is the reserve districts. And that's what I call murder. They're literally murdering you. They're literally putting you in a state of peonage as a vessel for slave trade. 18 USC 1581 and 1582.
Wait a minute,
State of peonage.
can somebody, oh yeah, we did have that. Can somebody put that code in the chat, please?
15 USC. I'm gonna show it to y'all. Let me pull it up first.
And the next one who can ask the question is Brother Noble, then Brother Carlos, because them two haven't asked their question.
Hold on, I gotta make sure I got them Jones right. Why the hell? Oh, it's 18. My bag is 18. It's not 15. It's 18 USC 15. And I'm about to show y'all. All right. So this is what we got to comprehend. Because they're taking you out of your geographical area, putting you in a foreign trade zone or reserve district, they're putting you in a state of peonage. They're obstructing the enforcement of your contracts. All right. So it tells you right here, whoever holds or returns any person to a condition of peonage or arrest any person with the intent of placing him in or returning him to a condition of peonage shall be fined under this title, imprisoned not more than 20 years or both. So this one tells you you've been placed in a state of peonage, and that's what they're doing, all right? Because they're using your natural person as a vessel for slave trade, all right? So they're taking your contracts, your promissory notes, see, that word procuring, all right, from any foreign kingdom. So the United States is foreign to the reserve districts, the foreign trade zones, all right? And they putting you in a, they taking your vessel for slave trade under 18 USC 1581 and 1582. And this is exactly what they're doing to you. All right. They making you, they holding your contracts and all that, making you labor and all this old stuff. All right. Our Father rests on on the seventh day. We supposed to rest with our Father, but we too caught up in the world. That's why the scripture says, you know, if I was of the world, they love you, but since I'm not of the world, they hate you. See, so you got to understand where you are at all times and understand controlling your vessels.
Yeah, how you guys doing?
Okay, Brother Noble. Oh, were you finished, Brother the Dot?
Yeah, I'm good.
Brother Noble?
No, I was gonna ask if, say for an example, on like when it comes to utility bills, would it be advisable to put like a receipt attached to it, indicating the property in the process of actually doing a proper endorsement?
That's the key. That's how zero balance any account.
Okay.
You can issue a void check with a receipt. Make the check for collection only. But I don't want to start telling y'all do some things and y'all don't really understand it. This is all about a trade acceptance. All right. You have a buyer and a seller, and you should be controlling them things. This is all about trade acceptance. All right. So I'm only telling you what I do. And it's simple. I'll make up an instrument and put a routing number on there. I'll use a closed account. As long as I give them the receipt, they don't, what y'all need to understand is they can never accept your checks, your Federal Reserve notes. They only can take them. All right. But what they do accept is the receipts, because the receipt allows the expansion of the face value of your check. All right. The receipt does. All right. I gotta show y'all this. I gotta show y'all this that y'all like, hold on. Modern money mechanics. I have to show y'all so you can see for yourself that you can have a full understanding of what I'm telling y'all is the absolute truth, but you just gotta have you have to have comprehension of what's real. All right. So I'm trying to pull up the modern money mechanics document, the book, before I all right, before all right, I'm gonna just show y'all some real quick stuff in this damn booklet. All right. I don't know how many ever seen this before, but I study this thing daily. All right. So this is modern money mechanics. All right, which is a workbook on the bank reserves and deposit expansion. All right. This is by the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago. So this is from the Federal Reserve telling you exactly how bank reserves and deposit expansions are created. So in the very beginning of this book, it tells you the purpose of the booklet is to describe the basic process of money creation and fractional reserve banking system. So the whole book is about teaching you how to create paper. All right. So it tells you that, how do I make this smaller? All right, there we go. All right, so let me just go down here. It tells you that traveler's checks are, I'm right here, traveler's checks, which is your checks, including the definition of transaction money. Why? Since $1 in currency and $1 in check deposits are freely convertible into each other and both can be used directly for expenditures, they are money in equal degree. Hold up now, your check is money. Your check is considered a United States currency note, and you're exchanging it for a Federal Reserve note. Your promissory notes and all of them are considered the real legal currency of the United States. When you read 31 USC 5103, it has Federal Reserve notes in brackets. That's just a suggestion. The Federal Reserve notes is not the legal tender. That's fraud. All right. So then it goes on to tell you transactions, concept of money is designated as M1. I'm hoping y'all familiar with that. So let me scroll down a little more. In the United States, neither paper currency nor deposits have value as commodity. Intrinsically, a dollar bill is just a piece of paper. Deposits merely book entries. Hold on. Deposits are nothing but electronic book entries. Okay. Coins do have some intrinsic value as metal, but generally far less than their face value. So let's go over here. The actual process of money creation takes place primarily in banks. You're creating the Federal Reserve note. As noted earlier, checkable liabilities of banks are money. Hold on now. Your check-able credit liabilities are money. So these liabilities are customers' accounts. Hold up now. Accounts receivable and accounts payable. Your accounts receivable is in the Federal Reserve District you're upon, and accounts payable is in your bank. So they increase when customers deposit currency and checks when the proceeds of loans made loans. The only way Federal Reserve notes come into existence is from loans. All right. So let's scroll down a little bit. People will redeem their deposit receipts whenever they need golds or coins to purchase something. Because I told you the first form of paper money is a receipt. All right. So let's go down a little further. Everyone found soon that it was a lot easier and simply to use the deposit receipts directly as a mean of payment, because the receipt is money. These receipts became notes and were acceptable as money, since whoever hold them goddamn receipts can go to the bank and exchange them for metallic money. There's no metallic money. They taking your receipts and exchanging them for Federal Reserve notes. All right. So the bankers discovered that they can make loans merely by giving the promissory notes to pay. Bank notes, your checks, to borrowers. All right. Now, this is the most important part so far I'm about to show you. Transaction deposits are the modern counterpart of banknotes. So they just told you your checks and your deposit account is a goddamn banknote because it's money. So it's a small step from printing notes to making book entries, crediting deposits from borrowers. Your borrowers is your instrumentalities, thing one and thing two, which the governmental borrowers in turn can spend by what? Writing checks. What are you doing when you write a check? You print your own goddamn money. Okay, so let me prove to you why they deposit the receipts. They literally tell you that, first of all, let's go up. This is talking about amounts of money and how it's created. It's telling you it's about an expansion, all right? Because they do an expansion from your face value of your check when you give a receipt, all right? So such expansions cannot continue beyond the point where the amounts of reserves that all banks have is sufficient to satisfy the legal requirement under fractional reserve system. So they're giving you an example, but you know it's 10%. So for an example, if reserves of 20 cents was required, deposits could expand only until they're 5 times as larger. Now watch this. How the hell reserves of 10 million could support deposits of 50 million? Huh? How is that possible? Because they call it an expansion. They expand whatever you give them 100% with that receipt. Without a receipt, it's insufficient funds. All right. They use the 20% reserve requirement. It's a 10%. All right. So if you issued a $10 million instrument and you gave a receipt, you can expand this to 100 million, not 50. You can support that many deposits. So here's the proof. So they show you what a T account is, left side and debit side of the credit. All right. See your liabilities. All right, your credit liability. So let me go it down. Okay. So how they expand or contract. Contract from expansion. So here's my favorite part. How do open market purchases add to bank reserves? Because the Federal Reserve is buying your check 21 image. When you issue a check, they're doing an image. And this is what they're doing. They're buying that note so they can expand it 100%. So suppose the Federal Reserve, through its trading desk at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, buys a $10,000 treasury bill of exchange from you, the dealer, in United States government social securities. In today's world, the computerized financial transaction, the Federal Reserve Bank pays for your security, your social security, your check with an electronic check drawn on its goddamn self. So it made a book entry, then it do a Fed wire transfer because they got to credit the amount of your 10,000. They expanded it, but they wrote a check electronically on their goddamn selves. I want y'all to really comprehend that. All right. So they're showing you how they do the expansion process of your notes. 10%. Assuming for simplicity, uniform 10% reserve required. No, that's the real shit. Against all transaction deposits, and further assume that all banks attempt to remain fully invested. We can now trace the process of expansion and deposits, which can take place on the basis of an additional reserves provided by the Federal Reserve System, purchase of your United States government social securities. Okay, so they show you a 10,000 deposit. They're going to expand it 10,000 against 10,000. They only got to hold 10%. 1,000 is reserved. 9,000 is loaned out to our dumbasses. Oh, here's the even better part. If it is active, the bank will access reserves. If business is active, the banks will access reserves, because you have a bank account with credit in it and everything is in access reserve. They don't never go to the window. You don't allow them to go to the window because you're supposed to have a zero balance in your account. So they will have opportunities to loan out the 9,000. See, they expand the 10,000 against 10,000 because the Federal Reserve Bank created a check on itself of the same amount. Now, look what they do. Of course, the banks don't really pay out loans from the money they receive as deposits. Holy shit. So what they doing? If they did this, no additional Federal Reserve note money will be created. But what they do when they make loans is accept your goddamn promissory note in exchange for credit into the borrower's transaction account. Holy shit. Why did they do that? Because you never wrote pay to the order of on the promissory note that your lender was an agent prepared for you, but that's your money. And you allowed them to come take your money and install you in payments. So this is one of my favorite books. It shows you everything. See, 10,000, you look, you got 2 bank accounts, like I told you. You got 2 bank accounts.
Wait a minute, can y'all, whoever is, mic is unmuted, please mute your mic. They want to know, can you drop that in the chat? That book?
Modern Money Mechanics. Yeah, I can put that in there. All right. So if you issue 10,000, it's going to the reserve over here, because Bank of America, Bank Wells Fargo. See, this is called receivable on the left side. This is called payable on the right side. And there's 2 sets of books in every bank, and you're on a general ledger. All right. So we're all in one pot. It's nothing personal. It's only business. And you're all shareholders to the United States Federal Corporation, if you know it or not. They know it, we don't know it. And they're abusing our ignorance because we don't know economics, because we working with their finances. We funding them and don't even understand finances is their slavery. All right. So I study this book daily. I learn from this book every day, and I've been reading this shit for I've been reading it for like 10 years, and it's only 40 pages. But every time I read this shit, I get another aha moment. Like, holy shit. Because I see something I didn't see before. So you issue 10,000, they got to credit you 10,000. They're going to issue 10,000 on the Federal Reserve itself, which is 10,000. They only have 10% reserve. So 10,000 minus 1,000 for the reserve. Now they got 9,000 to loan out, and they keep doing this shit over and over and over. See, look, and over and over, and you have no fucking clue of what they actually doing, because you believe you're being paid when pay is to discharge. You're not getting no goddamn money. You extending credit to these mugs, and you're supposed to get the expansion that they're doing, but you're abandoning it. Everyone's abandoning the expansion. This is the reason why brokers do a 1099 acquisition. The only way they can do an acquisition if there was an abandonment. But if it belongs to you, what's the acquisition and abandonment form for? It's yours. If you handle your business, there's nothing to acquire as an acquisition from no abandonment. But we abandon everything because we're not hip to this right here. This is my favorite book. This is my favorite book. I actually have it printed out and I keep it with me in my bag. This is my favorite book. I'll tell anybody right now, oh, you think these motherfuckers loaned you something? So why this shit literally says they took your promissory note in exchange for credits? That should be an eye-opening to everyone on this Zoom. This is what they're doing. It's called the expansions. This is the name of the book. A workbook on how they create their reserves off of your expansion. So to avoid the expansion, you have to do a balance. All right. There's nothing but virtual currency. The Federal Reserve note only comes in existence to a loan. Whatever you have in your pocket right now, no matter what that digital number is on your screen at your bank, that's all you have in Federal Reserve notes. All right. All the Federal Reserve notes in the banks and all that is from loans. It's not from you being paid. You're supposed to debit and credit and zero balance out your transaction. The Federal Reserve notes can only come through loans. That's why you got PPP loans. All right. They had a commercial problem. They didn't have a commerce problem. Commerce is the mutual exchange of goods. Goods is paper, commodity, or commercial. They needed the profit off of your abandonment. So the government gave you PPP loans, which allows them to create Federal Reserve notes, because a lot of countries are not using that shit no more. And if y'all don't understand what's going on, the inflation is because of those PPP loans and all the creation of these Federal Reserve notes right here in our home. So that's why everything's going up, because of those PPP loans. Y'all allow them create all these Federal Reserve notes. Y'all really got to understand.
And don't forget the stimulus money. That creates the inflation too.
All right, so I just had to share money modern mechanics with y'all so y'all can see, like, yeah, somebody already put it in the chat. Thanks, whoever did that. The bottom line is you need to read that book. I Bet You Thought is another one. Two Face of Debt is another one. All right. I
Wait a
bet
minute,
you.
wait a minute, take your time. Can somebody put those books in the chat? Two Face of Debt, and what's the other one? Thought.
I Bet You Thought.
I bet.
And I Bet You Thought is comical as hell. It's comical as hell because it's really a book of the feds where they drew cartoons showing you what I just showed y'all in the cartoons.
Mm-hmm. So I need to ask you something. The one that the document that you had, or that was a book that you had with the definitions, is any way possible you can add that in the chat as well?
That's the 1828 Noah Webster Dictionary.
Oh, yeah, okay, we got that.
The 18 Noah Webster, you go in economics, you're going to see those definitions.
Okay.
I use that 1828 dictionary, and it gives you legal terms and everything in there. All right. That's one of my favorite dictionaries because the man took 25 years to make that dictionary because societies, which are corporations, private entities, was changing the terms of words to control the common folk, the ignorant folk. What thy cleanse call not common, says the script. So common sense is vulgar sense. We're not using the good sense God gave us. We're using common sense. So common is vulgar. We're not using the good sense God gave us. So in that book, he basically using the etymology to the terms of the words. All right. You're going to find out a lot of the words that you believe are not so, but that's from us learning to speak from our environment. And speaking from our environment is from what we believe. And believe is what you trust from what someone else said, but you have no firsthand knowledge. So it's about having knowledge. My people suffer from a lack of knowledge. And since you ignore knowledge, the creator ignores you. So the truth is evilly spoken of. And by feigned words, we all been made merchandise, the script says. And feign means pretend words. A pretend word that we favorably use is human. Hue, man. That puts you right under color of law to claim to be any hue, man. Any color of man. You put yourself in color of law. You're black, you put yourself under color of law. I'm man. I'm man with dominion. I have the ability to use my mental power to dispose, to control, and use my equity at pleasure without it being accountable to body corporates of men and their persons. Because God is not a respecter of persons. But we use human and person and not really comprehend those terms. So I know Yolanda been teaching y'all man or sharing with y'all man, people, person, and humans. So human is a resource to persons. Persons are municipalities, which are corporations. They are under states, which are people. The people is under the man. So the man should control his people that has the persons that controls the humans. The humans is the lowest of all things. When the so-called black man was a slave, he was a human and they have a right to own a person, which is a corporation. See, so municipalities, your city is a person. Your county is a person. You're supposed to be the representative to that. This is a republic. We're the representatives to our agents, your county board and all that. And the city has nothing to do with the county because the United States of America, 50 states are only broken up into counties. I'm upon Philadelphia County right now. And I said, upon, I am not in. There's no way I can be in a fiction. So the city of Philadelphia County, there is no Philadelphia city. There's a Philadelphia County. All cities are of a county, which means they're from, belonging to a county. which is a municipality, a corporation. The mayor has nothing to do with us. The municipal police have nothing to do with us. This is the reason why they walk up on you and only can search your person. You say, hey, I'm the man. What are you talking about? I don't fit that category. I guarantee you it's a whole lot different when you know you're the man, not a person. People was a state. They call them Philadelphians. Pennsylvanians. That's a state. Look it up in the legal dictionary. People was a state. Persons is just city and county. Humans are resources. Every last one of us are man, female and male, made in the image of the spirit that dwells within. And we should use that internal clock, that spirit, that vigor of intellect. All right. So, I hope y'all caught on some of the things I said, but the most important thing I'm gonna tell y'all to really comprehend is pay to the order of. All right. Paid to the order of is a contract between a buyer and seller, and your bank is the third party processor. So everything should be paid to order of the bank. Literally. Everything. Not to another man, female, or male. It should be to your bank because your bank is the processor for the buyer and the seller. They become your debt collector. So you have a checking account, a savings account. The interest from the credit you extended should go on your savings, and the credit you extended as face value should go on your checking. So you should be collecting interest in your savings and getting the credit that you extended in your checking. And that's how that really supposed to work. Savings and checkings account. Your savings is income. That's your thrift because you extended credit. You're going to get that credit back plus the interest. The interest goes in your saving. The face value credit goes in your checking. And that's how it's supposed to go. The banks get a 10% reserve requirement, and that's the end of it. But they pimping us. All right. So I hope y'all enjoyed that. This was totally unexpected. And that's all I can leave y'all with. Study them docs, study those books. That money modern mechanics I just showed y'all, you like that's my baby right there. Besides Sophia, which is wisdom, that's my baby right there. But I give all praise to Sophia. Wisdom. She's the one. All right, and no more questions. I'll be out.
Brother, you remember what we spoke about the other day, yesterday? About the
Mortgage thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Monday, 8 o'clock.
Okay, not a problem.
I need your information too. Send it to me privately. Well, the message is going to come to me privately too, so I can send you the direct link.
Not a problem.
Everyone, I put here some Cash App in the chat. Please, please, please donate something to this brother because we don't normally do this. We do everything free, but come on, this brother just gave up the sauce. The brother just gave up the sauce.
I still got a question if you don't mind.
Ask away.
So the bill of sale we said is the receipt, which is understandable. Now, is there a timeline on when you can send that bill of receipt or that receipt? So for example, let's say I go out and I bought a car and I did, I guess the contract with them. Is there a timeline when I need to send that bill of sale? Because obviously you wouldn't have it prepared until you.
Well, let me tell you exactly what the dealer is doing with dealerships, which are contracts.
Oh my God!
Don't confuse the dealer with the dealership, because dealerships are literally contracts, and the contract is the order. And there's only two types of negotiable instruments: a promise or order. So what the dealer is doing upon you being approved for credit, they are registering it with the county, and they issue a bill of sale to the county as the county is the seller and the dealer as the buyer. And that's why they sell your note to the bank, because the county is considered the seller. They issue the bill of sale through the county. They have to. This is happening when they doing the registration process. All right. What you have to do is that promissory note, make it pay to the order of any bank or banker. And there you just solidified yourself without having to worry about anything, because they're going to transfer it over to county, because the county is, look, I want y'all to go back to what I said earlier. The state file number is the creditor, and that is under the controller in your county. And the controller is a municipality for profit entity. The social security account number is under the comptroller of currency, and that's non-profit. So the county controlling your state file number is acting as the seller to the stock vehicle identification number. Vehicle identification number, which is the contract. All right. That's why they put a stock number, a dealer number, and all that on the purchase order. They selling the car over the counter. CAR is an acronym for capital adequacy ratio. You drove off the lot with a motor vehicle. So don't confuse a vehicle with a motor vehicle, for which a CAR is the paper, which is a capital adequacy ratio, which is the purchase order. Because that's actually like a promissory note or invoice. It has everything on it. All right. That is the negotiable instrument. They're going to fill out a bill of sale in the registration of the capital adequacy ratio, because we usually abandon it. We don't transfer it in real time with the dealer who's selling dealerships. The dealership is not the building. Now, when you go get a purchase order, look at what it says. They sign on the right. We sign on the left. They sign as the authorized dealer representative, because they are a representative dealer to the state. They got a license of the state. The state is giving them a license to impair the obligation of contracts. And this is why we don't see it. The state is the one that's enslaving us, putting you under escheatment through procurement. They're stealing everything. We're abandoning everything under this escheatment law. It goes to the state. So everyone believe it's the United States Treasury, and no, it's your state treasury. It's not the United States Treasury. Literally. When we start really understanding what's real from words, we'll see straight. Which, no, we will look and see with sight. Just because we look and we see doesn't mean we have sight. You got to have sight when you look and see. And the key to this is comprehending this word. Word is bond, G. But if you speaking ambiguous, you're giving someone a chance to give an opinion, calling an administrator. You calling this dude your God, a judge, this lady your judge. No, they're administrators because you're not expressing the truth. You're writing stuff ambiguous, opinionated. This is what we call legal. It's all fraud. Legal is fraud. You have to understand how to write directly with our mind. When the mind and your words agree, there's no room or need for interpretation, no need for an opinion. The problem is what we writing is ambiguous, which allows someone with a degree who has the removal of goodwill to get an opinion to take your interest. That's what the courts are doing. They're taking your interest. We don't understand to write an extraordinary writ. All writs that are extraordinary, habeas corpus, mandamus, quo warranto. Hold on, it's just habeas corpus, mandamus, writ of quo warranto, and I'm missing one. Damn, it's habeas corpus. Where's my document? Habeas corpus, mandamus.
And social story.
What about res judicata?
All right.
Or acerbation?
The main four is habeas corpus, mandamus, a quo warranto. All right. Those are like one of the three main ones, but this is what everybody don't understand. and I'm about to blow your mind. So please pay attention to what I'm about to say. Your person is a franchise. Freedom only comes from a franchise. Everyone on here, man, female, and male, are free. Your freedom comes from your franchise. Now, habeas corpus, mandamus, and quo warranto has to do with your person, your franchise. So if you locked up, they locking you up as a dead entity, a fiction. And the habeas corpus is to bring your franchise to the court, to them to explain how they have the rights over you, usurping you. So is the mandamus, so is the quo warranto. This is all about your franchise, an elective franchise, your civil rights, your voting rights. All right. So a habeas corpus is a recourse in law through which a writ requires a person or franchise under arrest to be brought before a judge or into a court, especially to secure the person or franchise release, unless lawful grounds are shown for the natural person or franchise detention. Mandamus is a judicial remedy in the form of an order from a court to any government, subordinate court, corporation, or public authority to do some specific fiduciary act which that body is obliged under the law to do, and which is in the nature of public duty, and in certain cases, one of a statutory duty, which most of them are. All right. Trust, indenture law, advisory act, securities acts, those are statutory duties that they have to do. A quo warranto is a prerogative writ requiring the artificial person, the dealer, the broker, the attorney, the lender, the realtor, to whom is directed to show what authority they have for the exercising some right, power, or commercial franchise they claim to hold over the natural person. Because there's only two types of person, an actual food and an artificial. So these writs deals with your body corporate, your franchise. You are not a person. And it's about asking them what authority, what right do they have to usurp you over these? And I'm going to tell y'all a golden secret. A writ, extraordinary writ, habeas corpus and all of them, you don't have to appeal anything to an appellate court if you write a writ of mandamus, a writ of quo warranto. You can start an original proceeding in an Article 3 court instead of going to these common law superiors and inferior Article 1. You can go straight to the appellate court with a writ of mandamus, a writ of quo warranto, a writ of habeas corpus to rectify how the governor, agencies, agents are issuing license to usurp the man who's the heir to the Most High. I hope y'all caught what I just said.
We have 6 people that have questions. I'm gonna go with the ones who have not asked questions first. Okay, Brother Claude, your hand is raised for a minute.
Yes, Maria, thank you. I want to know if I can get this brother asked, did I get his information?
I'm very private, man. I'm very private. Eventually,
Look,
if y'all
I can
listen,
understand. I got no problem with it. I was trying to find out some information on it.
my left hand, my right hand is Yolanda. All right. So you can contact Yolanda, you can contact me. All right. I've always stayed private, and that's because your governmental or government literally wants me to stay hush.
Brother, I got no problem, and I can accept that hands down. I get it. I've been around a minute. I've been around the block. I get it.
So look, you can contact Yolanda, and I'm gonna give my information to the lady that's running this now, and you can reach out to me. Well, you know what? This is what I'm gonna give y'all right now. All right, this is how anybody can contact me through a website. Anointed, ANOINTED.
Put it in the chat, y'all.
I'm gonna give y'all a website. That way, y'all can just contact me through the website, and then I can get back with whoever, and you can go from there. All right, but I just sent my website, and it's not my website. Yolanda, Kevin, there's a few that's on this call that knows what I'm talking about when it comes to the anointing order by Melchizedek, which is a firm that we have. But when y'all go in there and y'all email in there, I will get it, and then I'll be able to reach out to any and everybody through there. So there it is, anointed order by Melchizedek, because your Lord and Savior, known as the anointed salvation, came out of the order of Melchizedek, and Melchizedek is righteousness. And I'm in nothing but righteousness. I try to be at all times, excuse me. So I'm about honor and righteousness. And I'm just reminding everybody about that order that your anointed salvation came out of, known as Christ Jesus, came out of the order of Melchizedek, for which Abraham and everyone else had to pay a tithe, a tax to that order. So that's an order we should all supposed to be in, walking in righteousness with God, not pledging allegiance to be under a level below God. I'm gonna say that again. We should not be pledging allegiance to be under a level below God. We should all walk with God. We should all walk with righteousness. We should all walk in equity. We should never be at, of, and practicing law. We literally should walk with God. Every last one of us has an attribute of the Father that we're all created from. And we've been hypnotized to believe to be under a level below, pledging allegiance to spiritless flags, idol worshiping, and not even realizing that's what we're doing. We're idol worshiping men's handiwork, because the United States is living off of your life. You can have life and not live, but you cannot live without life. So don't confuse live with life, because life is us breathing. Living is a contract. A contract has a term of life, see, from life. So when we really comprehend the words that we speak, we'll come out of the spell. That's why they call it spelling. All right. Everyone should be some shit, which is superseding. You think you the shit. You know how we do. You think you the shit. Well, shit literally signifies superseding. We should not be nice though. I'm some shit all day, but I'm not nice. See, that's just
Okay.
comprehending the word.
Okay, brother, they saying that the website doesn't exist.
Oh yeah, dude. Hold on. Let me no.
It does.
Noble said it does.
It does.
Yeah, I mean, I know
It does.
Yolanda's actually working on it to up it, because I had to just put it out there real quick for a situation with one of these government entities. It needed to be out there. So I just threw it together, but Yolanda's going to perfect that website. I mean, I just put it out there because I needed to show that for another government entity. So it's up and it's running for sure. All right. Any more questions? Because
okay,
I think there's a misspelling. I think there's a misspelling in the link, Maria. That's why it's not working.
Hold on, maybe I did misspell it. Hold up.
Okay.
I put an actual link there. This should work.
Okay. Oh, she sure did. Brother Noble did. Yes, he did.
Concur, it works. It works.
I'm
Yes.
going to put it in the chat now.
Yeah, I might have misspelled it, just being all fast. I'm trying to look. A-N-I.
I put it in.
Oh yeah,
there.
I forgot the other N. My bad. It's not. Yeah. Here, my own website. I misspelled it. Yeah, I forgot the N before the T. That's it right there. That's what it is. That's my bad.
Brother Yosef, I like that. Yosef, Israel.
Zadok Israel.
No, I'm talking about the brother that got his hand raised. Yosef.
So, Shalom, I got a question for you. That order, that buyer's order or that purchase order, I do a lot of reading on the UCC and the banking codes. And from what I understand, I believe it's 3-104, that's actually described as you were saying before, it's a negotiable instrument, right?
Right.
But it's not endorsed correctly. It's not payable to anybody on his face.
Right. Right.
Now this is where I did a little 17-page slide on what that thing actually was and how you can actually take that instrument, endorse it, and when you deposit it, it's supposed to pay for the vehicle.
Exactly, because that's a negotiable instrument. I'm gonna
Right.
give you a little secret. They're claiming to be the seller. The seller writes pay to the order of the buyer. Why don't they write a check off of you to extend them credit? So
Exactly, and that's there's another thing too. Just earlier today, just reading the consumer laws and stuff. You know, in 15 USC 1637, creditors defined. They use the word mortgage originator, which is always going to be you, right?
Exactly.
So, guess what? It tells you right there in 15 USC 1637 that you were supposed to come with your terms and conditions to the bank.
Right, you're of legal age. You're supposed to bring your own contract. Yes.
Yeah, you're right. You're supposed to, yeah, exactly. It's right there in 1637A. And it's like, whoa. So I'm looking at this credit card slip that came inside the little package that they sent me. And I'm like, wow, the template's right here. All I got to do is put my own information in there, what I want, and tell them what they're supposed to pay me every month for the extension of my credit to them.
There you go. There you go. Because an application is an offering to discount your paper under the Trust Indenture Act of 1939.
Now you're going further than I see, because you know more than me, obviously. But I'm just looking at this like, whoa. So here I am with a bunch of negotiable instruments here, certificates of deposit, birth certificates, a bunch of stuff that I got laying around, promissory notes that I done created myself. And I'm thinking to myself, man, why every time I go to the bank, they telling me we don't want this, we want fiat. And I can't help but think that they want to put me on the wrong side of the ledger.
Well, you don't have a contract with the bank. If y'all go to a Barron's dictionary of banking terms and read what an open account is, an open account is an alternative to a letter of credit and international financing, usually extended without a formal forward exchange contract or promissory note. So you have no relationship with the bank with the open account. So the whole point of this is understanding to create a relationship where the bank is acting as a fiduciary. And that takes a certificate. And certificate is a declaration to substantiate a fact. So
like a declaration of trust.
Huh?
Like a declaration of trust.
Right. So
okay.
If you go to Regulation A of the Federal Reserve Board of Regulation, your answer is there on how to take over your bank account.
Here's my other question I wanted to say, because you know I don't like the middleman. I'm like, what do I want to deal with you for when I know who the original bank is? You know, you had the original bank. Most people don't know is the post office.
And yeah. Oh man, I don't even want to go there. Yeah.
I want to cut the middleman out. I'm just being real. And I seen something with the, you know, somebody showed me, I ain't gonna point them out, but you know, they dropped a little sauce. And I've been looking at this thing like, yo, but even now, that's still tied to a middleman.
Well, the post office is going to create a trust account for you. And that trust account,
I got that through my credit number and everything. I actually have to open up if I'm understanding this right, I actually have to open up a trust bank account to be able to get on to be able to link my credit number to it.
Well, they call it a perfect accounts receivable through Wells Fargo. So the trust account is already connected.
That's the middleman. I get mad. I don't see that's.
But listen, the key is understanding how to do the ACH debit to create the ACH credit to that account to withdraw from. That's something
Well, that's easy. Anytime you send anything to a lockbox or a payment box, registered mail, you just send the registered security to it.
Well, actually, it's Priority Mail Express, which is a
Huh?
official.
Because I thought the
uh,
the registered mail numbers are actually like bond or QSIP numbers and they get activated when you go to the little register. They activate those numbers because there's a minimum of $25,000 attached to each one of those.
Well, the bottom line is your certificates of participation or interest, or certificate of deposit account registry service at a bank is literally FDIC assured 250 a certificate. So like I don't want to get too much in that United States Postal Service because
Yeah, that's another
that
rabbit
right
hole,
there, that's the real deal when you really understand it. But the bottom line is that Wells Fargo's account, perfect accounts receivable, is a trust account created through the post office because if you do your homework on the post office and the trust accounts, they gave the states all the permission to control the trust accounts. So everything is through the post office, honestly.
Right.
So,
But isn't the account number the 9-digit zip code?
well, everybody's zip is actually the account and all that. That's what they really charging is your
Right.
zip code because
For the bank.
yeah, that's where everything end up really getting paid when you really understand the zip code is taking you out of your geographical area.
That's
All
right.
right. But I'm gonna just stay focused back on what we was talking about. He was just on point when he was talking about a negotiable instrument, an order, so on and so forth. So it's really about controlling a security interest, and the interest is a private share in your security. It's like I showed y'all economics, finance, financial. You have to be economics to the interest, which is financial. You're giving someone a share. So it's basically the third party is always a processor that you have to break off to process the transaction. And that's it. That's what it just comes down to. It just you always want to have a middleman, a third party. You have to have the third party that has a license to do this shit. You don't have a license to do it. You don't have to be
When you
registered.
say license to do, when you say license, you mean like to what? To make negotiable instruments or
No,
to make registered instruments? What you
to
mean?
process it.
Brother, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. We can't do that. We have other people with their hands raised, but if you want to ask that question, you can raise your hand again. I yield. Okay, go ahead. You can finish with that question, Brother Zadok.
I forgot what I was saying just now, to be honest.
It said something about numbers. What was you saying about the numbers, brother, yourself?
No,
You
he was
said he
saying about
needed, you
license. You
said
got
he
to be
needed,
licensed to
you
process
said
it.
he needed an intermediary. He
No,
needs an
one at a time.
intermediary.
Yeah, the bottom line is, like I say, those licensed entities represent the state. And you have to have those licensed intermediary because they're the ones representing the state to process your buy and sell. All right. The state is really going to be the one ending up with the interest. And the payback of it is the social security account number. The seller is always the debtor because the seller is extending the credit they ask and pay to the order of. So you need the processor because you can't do it. You don't have access to go to the Federal Reserve. You don't have access to chips. You don't have access to the nacha. So you got to have them process it. And it's all about an interest, giving them a share, a discount. That's what this is all about. But you have to have that third party process unless you set yourself up and understand what's going on and have everything set up for you, whereas though you doing everything because there's no physical bank. There's just a ACH, which is the book entry to clear. All right. I could tell you the whole process. Social Security account number is the shipper. It ships what they call cash against documents, documentary payments to its remitting bank, Bank of America. Bank of America issues it through an automatic clearinghouse. It goes through the automatic clearinghouse and those paperworks, cash against documents, goes to a collecting bank, your reserve district. Your reserve district sends those documents, cash against documents, to your state. your state treasurer on behalf of your state file number. The treasurer for the state file number makes the payment to the collecting bank. The collecting bank shoots it through the Fed 4A Fed wire, which is the EFT. It goes to your remitting bank, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and eventually you use it. And that's the whole process of every transaction. It starts with the social security number seller because it's selling the interest. The state is going to get the interest because it extends the payment, the credit to the social security number. Social security number cashes the check, uses the credit. The state gets the interest. The states is the one that's doing this to us. It's called escheatment and procurement through a prompt payment act. 30 or 45 days, everything is guaranteed to be paid through the state because of a prompt payment act. You're abandoning using your registrar state file number, which records all your transactions because the state is the buyer. The United States sell the bonds. The state is the buyer. The state is buying it to give you the principal to the United States to get the principal and the interest back. That's all this is. Everything else is smoke, mirrors, mirage, and confusing, but it's really that simple. Social security account number makes the documents, makes your contracts. You ship it to your remitting bank. Your remitting bank processes it through the ACH to the collecting bank, the Federal Reserve District. Federal Reserve District sends it up to the state treasurer for your state file number. Your state file number submits the payment back to the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve issues it to the remitting bank through the EFT. The Reserve Bank, your remittance bank lets you know that it's there or give you the instrument to cash. Upon you cashing it, you transfer the interest to the state. Everybody got a fee, piece of the pie. And that's all, that's every it's so goddamn simple. It's I'll say my stupidity was beyond amazing. But what I know now, they can't deny nothing I say. And I could show you in their own words, like I showed y'all in the modern money mechanics, but I can also show you in statute codes and ordinances, like my man just brought up. I could show you that way too. But the bottom line is 8 steps, and the 9th step is transferring the interest. You're entitled to the credit, the face value all the time. Credit is trust. You're trusting them to credit transfer of the face value liability from the interest-bearing debt. You issued an instrument that has an interest. That's a debt. They have to credit the credit transfer of the face value liability because they took the interest. So credit is a trust to transfer the face value because they're going to take the interest. It's automatically. You got direct deposit. You're using a debit card. They doing that shit in real time.
Okay, you know what? This is a question that always come to me from a lot of people. Because you know, our people from St. Louis, the show me state. And they always say, well, can you show us this process, or can you show us that this was done and how it was done? I had one brother ask the question, where do I go read about this? The steps that you just mentioned, the procedure.
Read the Federal Reserve Board of Regulation. Now, if I was y'all, I would go read the 1930 version of it because you're going to have a better and clear understanding because it doesn't hide with all this legal jargon as you're going to read in the new versions of it, which is saying what the old version is saying with a whole bunch of words that you're going to have to get dictionaries to really comprehend. So I would read the Federal Reserve Board of Regulation A 1930 version. I have an encyclopedia of banking and financing from 1924 that has Federal Reserve Act. It has every act in it, along with all the definitions. And
What year is that?
It's 1924. It's Encyclopedia of Banking and Finance under MUNS, MUNN, Bankers Publishing Company, New York.
Can somebody, I don't type that fast. Can somebody else type that? I'm still typing the Federal Reserve Board of Regulations. In what year?
1930.
1930.
If you get this Encyclopedia of Banking and Finances I'm talking about, you'll have it at your fingertips.
Okay, wait a minute. Okay.
And I can tell you right now, I can show y'all what I'm telling y'all just by the goddamn Federal Reserve Act. Hold on, I'm gonna pull up something real quick, and I'm
Who
gonna
can
show you.
type in here? Okay, Yolanda, thank you.
All right, so look, I'm about to show y'all something right in the Federal Reserve Act that's on the Federal Reserve Board regulation website.
And after that, Lorraine has a question, and then Zanette and Zionite.
Application for notes, which means application offering to discount notes through the Federal Reserve. Now look, any Federal Reserve bank may make application to the local Federal Reserve agent for such amount of the Federal Reserve notes hereinbefore provided for as may require. Such application shall be accompanied with a tender to the local Federal Reserve agent of collateral and the amount equal to the sum of the Federal Reserve notes, thus applied for and issued pursuant to such application. So the collateral security thus offered shall be notes, drafts, bills of exchange, or acceptances acquired under section 10A, 10B, 13, or 13A of this act, or bills of exchange endorsed through, which is by, a member bank of, which is from, any Federal Reserve District and purchased under the provisions of section 14 of this act, or banker's acceptance purchased under the provisions of said section 14. So I'm going to read it all, but if you go read the Federal Reserve Act for yourself, you'll understand this, just like I showed you in their books. They don't hide it. You just never went and read it for yourself. So these sections right here, including this section of 16, how they issue Federal Reserve notes, but without your promissory notes, your drafts of bills of exchange in an equal amount, there is no Federal Reserve notes. And remember, it must evidence a receipt. So all you got to go do is read these acts that we haven't been reading. I read them all the time because I need to understand. I have to be wise as a serpent, which means I need to know the devices that the serpent are using to be held harmless as a dove. So in order to be held harmless as a dove, you have to know what the serpent is doing. You don't have to do what the serpent is doing. You just got to know what the serpent is doing so you can avoid it to be held harmless. So all you got to go do is read these acts. I would tell you to read the Federal Reserve Act, the Federal Reserve Board of Regulations, the Trust Indenture Act of 1939, the Investment Company Act of 1940. Those are the most important to know. The Trust Indenture Act of 39 and the Investment Company of 1940, because your natural person is an investment company.
Can someone put that in the chat, please?
Everyone needs to read those and really understand those, because that's where you're going to get all of the knowledge of how to proceed and, you know, what to do with the application and how you issue your bond certificates and so on and so forth. It's in those acts, and those acts are law.
And what's the other act, brother? She got the Trust Indenture Act.
1940 Investment Act.
1940 Investment Act.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, but listen, any more questions? Because it's almost 12
Okay.
o'clock on this. No, it's almost 11 o'clock, and I got a lot of traveling I have to do tomorrow. So
Okay, Brother Wayne, you have a question?
Yes, I have a question. On the checks, when we doing page 2, are we putting the signature, a qualified signature on that check?
I'm not understanding. What are you saying? Say that again.
Say that
Closed
again.
endorsement. Closed endorsement.
When we doing page 2 with the checks, paid to the bank, are we doing a qualified endorsement on that?
Well, anytime the check is in your name, you must do a trade acceptance. That's why I just read that and it said bills, draft, notes, acceptances. All right, because you're acceptance and extending the credit. See, so we're supposed to actually do what they call an acceptance on the face of the instrument. And then you're supposed to endorse it on the back, payable to your bank account number, whatever the case may be. So now the bank will get to give you the credit and they're going to collect the interest for you. This is all about the interest because pay to order of you're the buyer, you're the drawee, you're the creditor. So if you actually want to issue an instrument for payment, you make it pay to the order of the bank. Then you got to understand on the left-hand side where they always had a bank logo and a line for 4. Well, that's where you say for collection, all right, at your treasury or something, because that's the real payee. They doing your state treasurer going to end up doing acceptance of that instrument. You're entitled to the credit, the face value. The state is always collecting the interest. All right, that's what it really comes down to. Understanding, in order for the United States to pay its bills, we have to transfer our interest. We're entitled to the face value as if we were using real money, but we're not. That's why they have a commercial value in every instrument. Look up your state commercial tax. Every state has a commercial tax on paper. You don't even have to write it on the paper. It's guaranteed. Every state has a commercial tax. So it's all about interest, and interest is a private share in your transaction. All right. If it's a bond, it's on top of whatever they credit you. If it's a note, it's a discount of the note. Like going to a check cashing place and they're going to want 3 or 4%. And they're only going to give you that amount and they're going to cash your check for the full amount. That's all it is. A bond has a set interest. A note has a discount. That's all it is. Anything over 5 years is really a bond. So when you signed a promissory note, it literally was going to be sold in less than 30 days, which they already sold it and installed you into a bond of 30 years. And everybody know a promissory note is unconditional. So how do you take an unconditional promissory note and create a condition? See? How are you a customer at the bank and not the depositor, and you claim to make a deposit? We got to really understand these terms. The bank is really the customer and you're the depositor, but they trading places with us because they're taking the interest from the credit you advance and thinking you're being paid. And you're not being paid shit. You're getting credit. There is no money. There's only credit. The United States dollar is a digital currency. Upon them procuring that, they create Federal Reserve notes. But the United States dollar is a digital currency because a dollar is a silver coin. There is no United States dollar. It's just called a dollar. That's a silver coin. Since there's no silver coin, there's no dollars. They call it United States dollar, but that's just digital currency. That's for the bank's business to business as a balance sheet, a financial statement, which is nothing but a balance sheet. But we filling out UCCs as financing statements, which means continuing, ing statement. But we're supposed to do a financial statement, a balance sheet, showing the debits and the credits and the zero balancing of the transaction. The UCC is not law. The states are using that to subrogate us. The law is what I just told you, the Trust Indenture Act, the 40 Investment Company Act, the Securities Act, the Exchange Act. But the law to the Securities and the Exchange Act of 34, Securities Act of 33, is the Trust Indenture Act and Investment Company Act. And that's why I tell you those are the most important to study because they're the law to the other acts that was created before it. Security and Exchange Act doesn't have the regulation. The regulation is in the Trust Indentures Act in the 1940 Act. Those are the law. And the states are codifying acts of Congress to their benefit. They're doing it to impair the obligation of contracts. This is why they give license out to all these entities, but all these entities are really working for the state. The state get them a license, they work for the state. You have a corporation right now recorded in the state gave you an entity, a license. You're not the ownership of the corporation, you're the owner. You have the propriety rights to use it, all right? But the state is acting as the ownership because they gave you the license. So it's really a state corporation. No one owns their corporation. It's just one enterprise called the United States Federal Corporation. Every man understood this you would just use your living trust and your cesta K trust. That's what it comes down to. Learning how to use your living trust and your cesta K trust. That's all I'm focused on is using my living trust and my cesta K. When you understand that, there's nothing else to this. All right, you can call them buyer, seller, dominant, servant, and state, however way you want to look at it. But you're the man, female with a living soul. The living soul has a living trust that's in possession to use it in a cesta K trust. Another word for cesta K trust is beneficiary. It's the same fucking thing. So the beneficiary as a cesta K trust is nothing but a trustee. Has no power unless the grantor tells them what to do or break them off. They on the payroll. We have ownership. Owners are managers on behalf of the ownership. And we love to be owners, but don't want the ship to go with it. Don't understand that term. So we're ownership. And your ownership is split up into a legal and equitable title. And the equitable title has the right to use the interest because it's extending the credit. And the legal title has the right to vote and transfer the interest. So your voting rights, you're literally giving them away in a democracy, voting for someone to take your power away. Because this is not a democracy. This is a fucking republic. And you're voting your voting rights away for a representative who's subrogating you, substituting you. This is not a fucking democracy. This is a republic. And every time we hear them say that, we need to check their ass. Because when they saying our democracy, that's what they saying, their democracy. They literally letting you know they own this new shit called a democracy. This is not a fucking democracy. This is a republic. We don't understand that we are the controllers being the representatives in the county. We supposed to instruct them. They're not supposed to instruct us. When you are of legal age, you bring your own contract. Now, you can look at the Black Laws Dictionary, 4th edition, go to legal, read legal age. It's going to tell you of legal age, you can bring contracts. But if you're not bringing your own contract, they call it legal age of consent because you consent to someone else's contract. And that's why we getting burned. You're supposed to bring your contract. You're not supposed to sign theirs. That's why they fucking us. You acting in a legal age of consent, which is a minority, an infant state of mind. You're not acting as the one with majority who bringing their own contract. Sui juris, you have a right to bring your own contract. But we acting of legal age. And that's because the states are giving out a license and we believe the licensed entity is the one that's loaning us. But they're a lender, ER. They just your agent. You're the principal. How the fuck the agent is controlling the principal? Right?
Okay, one more question, Sister D, solution?
Oh.
D solution?
Yes. Okay, I didn't know I was already unmuted. Thank you. I wanted to ask, like, if I wanted to open a new checking account today, should I use my EIN LLC social? Like, what number should I use?
None of that really matters. You got to open that account in a way that if y'all get regulation A, all right, you have to open that account with a certificate. All right. I'm about to go to regulation A in this book. Y'all can hear me flipping through the pages. All right. You have to know how to open that account properly. So regulation A, 1930 version. Was it section 7? I'm trying to get to the section that tells you exactly. See, a certificate is the substantiate of fact, is to make a declaration. All right. So the application is for them to discount your notes. All right. So it says, section 3 of the regulation A says, is application for discount. It says every application for discount of notes, drafts, or bills of exchange must contain a certificate from the member bank, which your registrar is a bank, in the form to be prescribed by the Federal Reserve Bank that, and then they telling you exactly how to write your certificate. To the best of its knowledge and belief, such notes, drafts, or bills of exchange have been issued or drawn, or the proceeds thereof have been or are to be used for such a purpose as to render them eligible for discount under the terms of this regulation, and that such notes, drafts, or bills of exchange have not been acquired from a non-member bank or so acquired that the applying member bank has received permission from the Federal Reserve Board to discount with the Federal Reserve Bank paper acquired from non-member banks. In the case of a member bank or trust company, member state bank or trust company, every such application must contain a certificate or guarantee to the effect that the borrower is not liable and will not be permitted to become liable during the time his paper is held by the Federal Reserve Bank. To such bank or trust company for borrowed money an amount greater than that which could be borrowed lawfully from such state bank or trust company where it is a national banking association. So they won't even allow me to have a bank account. They weren't allowing me. I don't have a state ID or nothing, but the moment I get this state ID, I already have it set up where they already have my certificate. They already have my bill of exchange. They already have my cash against documents for when I come in with this fake ID from the state that I'm not going to have my face on. My account going to be open and fully funded for me to draw checks from because I'm opening it with a certificate, knowing that the application you filling out is to discount your paper paid to the order of. So just because you're going in with an EIN and all that, it ain't have nothing to do with that. You got to understand the certificate is declare a fact.
Mm.
And you have certificates of births to declare facts with. So it's about opening up the account with the right documents, your own contracts. This is something I can't show you right here, right now, but I'll be willing to show anybody how to go open up an account properly so you can have full control of it the moment you open it. See, because an open account means you don't have a contract. So I just read to you from regulation, Federal Reserve Board Regulation A, Section 3. They tell you how to open up an account with a certificate. And you have a certificate that shows you have ownership to create a government deposit account for you to draw your own money from. Write your own checks. But you have to have a certain amount already lodged to draw checks from, or you're going to have to bring paycheck to paycheck. See? So it's about understanding how to open it. Your EIN don't mean shit. Your EIN came out through your social. Your social is the key. The birth certificate is the key. Everything else is a smoke screen. The EIN is the employer to the employee, the social security number. But the employee has the rights to use the certificate. He's the employee to the United States government.
Is your degrees that you get from school also considered valuable? I heard that somewhere before.
No, your degrees is the removal of goodwill. They worthless. It just gives you a pride of ignorance.
Okay. And does it matter if you're status non-citizen national of the US?
Well, when you take on the title of national, you actually being a national of your state.
Okay.
Everybody misconstrues and believe you're a national of the United States of America, but you're really a national to your state because your state is really your country. All right. There's 50 countries that we call states. Like Africa got all these little countries in it. All right. But this is the same here. We just calling them states.
And they really countries. Yep. That's
all
what I
right.
said. Mhm.
So and the only reason why they calling them states, because you don't have any king. You don't have any prime ministers. We're all kings and queens supposedly on this landmass. So we don't have that situation. So I'm gonna say this again. The word state was recently started being used. It's actually e-state. So you have ownership in your e-state, pronounced state of, wherever you are. That's why you got a certificate from that state showing you have ownership in it. Literally. Your first and last name of state is no such thing. The state is of the state you're upon. You have ownership in that joint. It's dead right now. You have ownership in it. We don't recognize our ownership in the E state pronounced state. The word debt is the word debit. It's the same thing. When you start understanding these terms, you will really get it. We recently started saying state, but it's always been an E state. Now they're pronouncing it state, taking the E off. So, I mean, that's what it comes down to. But look, like I said, I got a great go, y'all. I wasn't expecting this, and I've been on this thing for a few hours.
Okay, y'all. I put his Cash App in there again. I think this brother is worth it. If y'all can make a donation to him, please do. Because like I said, he wasn't even expecting, he was going to just listen and let Yolanda demonstrate. Is Yolanda still on here?
Yolanda Ben got off.
I'm going to get on her. I'm going to get on her. Tell her I'm going to get her for that.
Yeah, I am too. She put me on the spot, and I wasn't expecting to say a goddamn thing.
What's up, the doc?
Who's that?
It's Lucky.
Hey, what's up, Luck? How you doing, man?
I'm great. How you making it?
I'm good. I'm good. I see some of us been on that anointed order. I'm getting emails and notices already, but that's cool. That's why I gave it out there.
Okay, so for me to send you the link, I didn't want to send it through the website. So you can send me, can you send me your information? It's going to come.
I have it. Yolanda has it. I'm gonna tell Yolanda, go ahead and give it to you.
Okay.
All right. Like I say, talking to Yolanda is like talking to me, and vice versa.
Okay. She told me about you. She was the one who told me about you because I never heard of you until she mentioned you. I was getting you and Trouser Doc mixed up.
Yeah, well, Yolanda's my right hand.
Okay.
All right, so
Maria, I just have one quick question. It's fairly simple. Do you find that the bankers and most of the people that are working that you would come across when you're conducting your business have only common knowledge, and you'd have to bring so much stuff?
They don't know any of this. This is the reason why I basically deal with the executives who have stuff set up before I walk into a bank. And if I walk in there to a bank, I literally just tell them to send this up to legal because they have no clue. I walk into a bank and I ask them, how am I the customer? Because you're the customer. So doesn't a customer buy something? What am I buying? Didn't I just deposit that? Why am I not the depositor? They can't explain that because they've educated. They don't nobody know anything. And they use that for plausible deniability. So they hire the most ignorant to what's going on. And the problem is, it's just a pyramid scheme. There's only those at the top that know. Everybody else in between with titles and all that, they don't know shit. So yes, it used to be real frustrating because I thought they knew, but no one knows. And the only ones that know is not going to tell the ones that don't know. They use that for plausible deniability so you can't get to them. And Yolanda tell y'all that. We got firsthand knowledge of that. Me and Yolanda was going into a bank. We were on the phone with the executives. They knew everything we was talking about. They told us to go into the bank. They stayed on the phone. We gave the phone to the people in the bank. The people banking didn't understand. The executive said, well, if they don't understand it, we can't help you. And they hung up. They using the idiots in the bank for plausible deniability. They're using them for plausible deniability.
Is it possible to conduct business online, or do you have to go in when you know that they're going to be ignorant? And how do you get around even getting anything done in that matter?
I just brought that up, whereas though you have to understand how to go in there and open your account, whereas they send the paperwork up to legal, and then legal contact you or somebody contact you and have your account open, and it, you have to open it up in a proper manner, but they not even going to know what you're doing. They just want to take the paperwork, scan it, send it up to legal, you get a phone call, your account open, and you do what you have to do. I mean, like I say, I'll show any and everybody how to use certain paperwork to open up your account properly to be in full control of your buyer and your seller, because the bank is only a processor. They're intermediary. All right. You're the bank. They're just an intermediary.
Okay,
So
someone
Thank
asked, do you have the federal, is there a link to the Federal Reserve regulation?
well, I just sent you the link. I just was showing y'all the link.
Maybe I thought it was, I don't know.
Let me what I was just on, I just literally showed y'all section 16 of the federal regulation breaking down the Federal Reserve Act. So like I say, all we got to do, you go read that stuff for yourself. You just take your time. If a word you don't know right then and there, stop, grab a dictionary, because there's no need you keep reading if you don't know that one word, so you can have a full comprehension of what you read. All right.
And that's what I'm learning, that is the words, using the correct verbiage.
Yes.
How we got played out of position, using incorrect verbiage. And this is why our documents and everything are getting denied, because we're using the incorrect verbiage.
Right. We're literally writing our opinions and our belief. And if you write your opinion and your belief, you have some administrator calling them judge whose opinion is higher than yours from his fake degree. So the key is to write in a manner that you don't get a opinion. You actually said what it is, and they have to write and sign your order. So there's a process to the court and everything that we have to learn to do. Whereas though we write in a manner that what you say is what you get, and all they can do is sign off on it. They can't give you an opinion. The problem is we writing with ambiguous terms that's negating what we actually trying to get across.
May I?
No doubt.
May I? Or you can drop in definitions. You can submit your definitions when you submit your will. You put your definitions in there.
That's one thing I do with my paperwork. I put my definitions on top before I even write in to let them know, so they can know where I'm coming from, not where they want to come from. So she's absolutely right.
May I?
Who is that?
Cecilia, yes, I was just, the Federal Reserve Board of Regulations, I put that on the Fraser, so it should be on you've shared it with everyone. So it should be on that link. That link is going to show you for the 1930.
Right.
Okay, so y'all got to check. You look in the chat and everything is in there. Oh, one sister said, oh, so we should be able to quit our jobs. How did she put that?
I wouldn't do that yet until you fully understand what's going on, but I would go after my job to collect all the interest that they've been collecting. That's what you're paying taxes and you're getting a discount. I mean, you're not even getting your full gross, and they don't even pay taxes.
That's what I want right there, because I'm still working and I want to know how to do that.
May I?
May I? Oh.
Well, I hope y'all know we're not going to get that done on this call, right?
Huh? No, not on this call. Not on this call. No, not on this call. Maybe another call. But and go ahead, emphasize that. And after that,
Stillwater is first.
Before all these mayors came, so is he done?
Yeah, Stillwater been sitting there with his hand up.
Oh, Stillwater got his hand up. Stillwater, let brother Stillwater got to go. Let brother Stillwater have asked his question, because he hasn't asked the question.
We're pretty patient. We had a question that might be contradictory, but it's just a question, and there's no dumb ones. Based on one's here understanding, wouldn't it also be wise to, there was one gentleman indicated in reference to not dealing with the middleman. Now, can't we also have an account based on the UCC, meaning our own private bank? By
UCC is not law, my man. That's a code that's usurping your ability through federal statutes. Now, I'm about to say this. I'm gonna say this because I don't think I made it clear. You have a registrar of the Treasury, state file number.
Right.
You should be dealing with your state treasury. Anybody in Pennsylvania, go to the state treasury and you read, and you can read on there that you can get an application from your treasury and open up an account and do your thing with your state treasury. I actually have the application that they've been waiting for me to give to them for 2 months. All right. But there's other things that I was setting up before I even do it. See, so your registrar is of the Treasury because back in the day, the registrar signed the paper on the, you open your Federal Reserve notes now, it says secretary and something, the Treasury or whatever. But back in the day, it was the registrar that signed it. Do your homework. So you have a state file number of the registrar, and the registrar is a bank or a trust company, and it's your state treasury. So as I explained, social security account number, remits paperwork to his remitting bank, ACH to collecting bank up to your state treasurer issue the payment to the collecting issue the Fed wire to the remitting bank, back up to your social. See, I explained the whole process. All right, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm about to give y'all a jewel. I don't show nobody this document, but I'm about to show y'all a jewel just for y'all get a visual.
Turn it off.
Huh?
Wait a minute, let me move him out. Okay, go ahead, brother. Go ahead, brother Zadok.
I'm just gonna show y'all the visual of the process of the bank, so y'all can see for yourselves. See, this is what I'm explaining to y'all. Everything starts with the Social Security number debtor. The debtor of the Social Security number never talks with the state file number creditor. They only communicate through the banks. So you, Social Security account number debtor creates commodity paper. See, Social Security account number debtor sends cash against documents, bill of exchange to remitting bank. See, bang, bang. The remitting bank transfer cash against document, bill of exchange to collecting bank. So it goes through here, through the ACH to the collecting bank. The collecting bank transfer the cash against document, bill of exchange to your state file number registrar. That's the treasurer. See, so it goes up, then it comes back down. Why? Because the state file number creditor issues the cash against document payment to the collecting reserve bank. So it comes back down. So then the collecting reserve bank want to issue it. The collecting reserve bank transfer the cash against document payment to the remitting bank. So now this collecting bank going to issue it through the Fed wire. So there's an ACH wire, and then on the going to, there's a Fed wire. See, the ACH is the book entry. The Fed wire is actually feeding the funds now. See, I give you the whole process. So the collecting reserve bank, I already said that. So the remitting bank transferred the cash against document because now it's commercial paper because you issue commodity paper. See, different papers. You issue commodity, then they give you back commercial, called a check, Federal Reserve note, whatever the case may be. So the Social Security account number cash is the commercial paper, and interest is transferred to the state file number. This is the whole transaction and everything. So this right here, it'll take me a long time to teach y'all how to put this stuff on your paperwork, your banks, to create a notch code for all your transactions to go through. But this is what they call what's that? HTML is, I might not be saying it right, but this is how they initiate payments with codes and stuff. But that'll take me a long time to teach any and everybody that. But I just put it out there because I done studied it all. I understand the whole process. See, everything is an automatic self-liquidating commercial transaction because the automated clearinghouse and the Fed bank are nothing but mechanisms, which is computers. So if you do everything correctly, you can just control all your transactions through these clearing mechanisms and settle mechanisms.
Okay.
Nobody understand none of this. This is so advanced. But I had to give y'all a visual of what I'm telling y'all.
Hey, is it possible you can drop that in the chat?
That document there, I don't think that, no, I don't even, y'all look, I have never even shown nobody that other than the ones I'm privately dealing with on a regular day basis. And certain docs that I don't show and certain docs I don't allow to give out.
Man, we appreciate the sneak peek.
Definitely appreciate that, man.
Gratitude.
We just had one additional, it's not really a question, it's more of a comment. Earlier, the sister had asked a question in reference to a degree, was that has any value? But I think the question may have been misquoted. It's more of the certificates those certificates are what has value, whether it be a high school degree, college degree, so on and so forth. Is
Well,
that correct?
listen, let me just look, man. I want y'all to really understand something. This word game is a beast. All right. This word game is a beast. So if I ask you the root word of degree, what's the root word?
The root, what, agree?
Mobile.
There you go. There you go. So the
I'm
root
thinking
word is
temperature.
agree is what? Degree. And what does that signify?
Goodwill.
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 Okay. So you're going to add a D to it. And what does that do?
Removal goodwill.
See? So that's what your degree do, because all of us who have a degree look down on those who don't have one. They got a fake higher paying credit job of persecution, and they don't even know it because of their degree. So the degree removes the goodwill of every man and female who think they're better than the next who don't have a degree. Now, I don't have a degree, but anyone that have a degree, not on my level. They don't even know they're so stupid.
That is true. That is true. That is true.
All right. So y'all got to understand, look, this is about being edified, not educated. Educating is training, bringing up a child in a way of thinking that they will never deviate from it. That's what your education has done. That's why those with a degree believe they're better than one who doesn't. But I can school anyone with a degree.
Let me ask you something. I also was told that degree means to degrade.
No doubt. Guess what?
What?
We walk around every day and say, hi, sir. Good day, sir. And sir is a Hebrew word meaning degradation. You're going around degrading yourself every day, talking about sir. Don't even understand it. It's a Hebrew word. It signifies degradation. I don't allow nobody to say sir to me. First time you say sir to me, I'm gonna say, listen, I know you mean well, but that's being nice. And I gotta let you know you're degrading me. Well, I was raised, I know how you were raised, but I'm letting you know you're literally harming me. So I ask you not to address me as sir. But I know we have bad habits that it happens time and time again, but I always got to correct you. I am not a sir. Okay. I'm going to show y'all one more word and I'm going. I have to go. But I am not a you either, because you is second person. And that's the fiction that you claim to be in. You are the I. You are never the you. See, so you is a second person to your, which is equally applicable. And this is why you open up your bank account, they call you a you and a your, and they say they, we, and I.
Plus the you owes a debt to the United States.
Huh?
Plus the you owes a debt to the United States.
Say that one more time.
Now just saying plus you owe, meaning it means you owe a debt to the United States.
That puts you in a fiction, a person. You want to know why?
Correct.
To believe you a person, you have transgressed the whole law. So therefore you're considered in rem and in gross. And you're not, you're exempt from customary burdens, which is equity. So everyone in a sock called a society is an exempt from customary burden, which is equity. Everybody's burden is to do equity, but we don't know equity because we follow legal. And legal is act of practicing, but woe unto you attorneys. You're not even in law. And those who come in, you hinder, and they hinder because they don't know law they goddamn selves. They know legal and they know form, but they don't know anything about substance. So I'm gonna give you one substance. If you're ever in any trouble when it comes to a statute court order, ordinance, and the state of is bringing a charge against the man, and you have not harmed another male or female that has an affidavit expressing you harmed them, go straight to trial. And the reason why you want to go straight to trial, because hearsay is not submissible at trial. So the state of Pennsylvania bringing a charge against a man is hearsay with an attorney, and they can't speak at a trial if you object and say if they're going to speak because they're not your accuser. The state of Pennsylvania is, and I need you to call the state of Pennsylvania to the stamp, not its agent, you will walk out of there a free man without having to worry about any charge because you're not acting in person.
That is true. That is true.
This is how I get out of any and everything. I actually face my accuser. And if the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the state of Florida, the state of Delaware, the state of New Jersey is my accuser, I know this shit ain't real. You got to be more mindful. Stop being careful. That's anxiety. That's calling it a problem. You have to be mindful. So a fiction can't bring a charge against a man unless he's in acting as Roger Rabbit.
A fiction. All right now.
Man,
That's a fact.
That's fiction.
Appreciate answering one's question and a few
If
things
you
more clear.
representing your city and your state, you don't know who you be.
Mary.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
All right.
listen, I literally one more. Whoever got, I hope it's a good
Yeah,
one. I gotta go.
I'm wrapping it up. It's the same one we were talking about when we said that when we go to the dealership and the process there, you said to pay to the order of the bank. Can you use any bank, as in specifically your bank, or can you put the name of the dealership there? Pay to the owner of the dealership.
I'm gonna show you another document real quick.
Okay.
I'm gonna show you another document that I made real quick.
Can you drop that document in the chat?
I most definitely share this with y'all. How do I drop that in the chat?
I love you, Morgan.
Thank you.
All right, so listen, every last one of y'all need to run to a rubber stamp joint and get a bank stamp. And you should make the bank stamp say pay to the order of any bank or banker with no recourse to you through your state file number. And just like I showed y'all on the bottom of that paper, but you need the bank stamp. That way, see, look this definition up, bank stamp. This is what the banks do. This is why you take a blank endorsement from your endorsement on a promissory note for a house or car, and they stamp it, pay to the order of themselves without recourse to themselves. So this is literally a bank stamp. I will get this one right here that I got highlighted. All right. Because a bank stamp is an endorsement from a registrar, which is your register file number, is a bank placed on the reverse side of any check, note, acceptance, or other negotiable instrument with a rubber stamp on an endorsement machine. So this rubber stamp would be your endorsement machine. See, the registrar bank or trust company endorsement stamps are of two kinds, direct and general. In a direct endorsement, the name of the payee conversion bank is specially stated, where you're going to write pay to the order of Bank of America, no recourse. On this one, that's direct. But whereas a general endorsement bears the words pay to the order of any bank or banker, this is right out of a dictionary. So the general endorsement is in more common use since it permits standardization, thus enabling the registrar bank to dispatch large numbers of notes or checks with the minimum of time and labor. So let's go to the bottom. Your state file number, registrar bank or trust company out of the state treasury is responsible for keeping records of bondholders that are creditors and shareholders that are owners. You playing both roles. After a representative issuer offers securities to the public. So when you go to the car dealership, they offering you a security. You giving them the right to disperse and get paid from it. Acceptance for value mean you're accepting the value in the instrument. You're not bringing for good and valuable consideration. You're accepting the value in the instrument and transferring the value that's already there with an acceptance for value. So when a representative issuer needs to make an interest payment on a bond certificate or a dividend payment to a natural person shareholders, the firm or the household refers to the list of registered owners maintained through the state file number, the registrar. So this is the reason why I create the stamps like this.
Join the meeting.
All right.
Mm-mm.
This is the reason why I create the stamps like this, but this is me learning the definitions. I study words all day, every day. Banking dictionaries, legal dictionaries, This is what I do. I have to learn 10 words every day. This is what I do. This is what I've been doing for 14 years because it's about the word. In the beginning was the word, and the word is with God. The word was with God. The word was with God. You better recognize the word, God. You better recognize what you're saying. That's what it comes down to. So this is real simple.
I got you. I thought you had to put a specific bank. That's why.
No, you don't have, look, this is in the definition. It says you can make it to any bank. That's called a general endorsement. See,
Right.
you know that back of your check that has that space and tell you don't go behind the line?
Yeah.
This is what they put in there. They put in their bank stamp on your blank endorsement. This is what they doing to your checks. They putting a bank stamp on the back of your blank endorsement. You wrote John Doe up the top. They said, thank you, John Doe. Pay to this bank so he can get the interest from the credit they just advanced, that you advanced them to yourself.
So can I ask another question? Just one more, just for clarity. So I had a check, a large check, and I deposited, and I actually put paid to the order of the bank, which was TD Bank.
Okay.
What should the results be? Or what should I see any difference compared
You
to
were supposed
the
to, once you did that, you gotta, do you have more than one account there? You got a savings account?
I have a saving account, checking account. I have a few accounts with them.
So when you wrote pay to the order of that bank, you should have told them to deposit the interest in that savings account. Right there in the
Okay.
back of the check.
So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna reach out to them by letter and tell them, ask them for the interest to be deposited into another account.
It is because they expanding it 100%, for which they only have reserve requirement of 10%, for which 90% literally supposed to come back to the man instead of them loaning it out. I
Sounds
just
good.
showed y'all that in the Money Modern Mechanics book.
Thank you.
That's what we're doing. We're abandoning our interest, which is really par value. All right. Look up the term trade acceptance and learn how to do a trade acceptance, because it's supposed to be done on the front of the check. All right. The trade acceptance, you're going to do that. You write accept it, the date you accept it, the place of payment, which is your treasury, your signature without no recourse. Then you sign it on the back, pay to your bank. So now the bank has to collect that interest. You tell them where to put it at. You put it in the savings account. You have to give them instructions. You just can't leave them hanging. You have to give them instructions.
Sounds good.
All right. They call that cash against documents. Look up that term, cash against documents. All right.
Against documents.
Cash against documents, CAD. Cash against documents, all capital letters for acronym CAD. That's literally documentary credits, which is a time deposit, which is a special deposit, because this is all about post, like post office. It's about recording. All right. Yes. Cash against documents, Yolanda. Yes.
So when you have an empty bank account, but the account is open, there's still interest that's been
Every
gathering
check
on.
before that, yes. The bank is depositing it at the Federal Reserve. That's why I showed y'all the modern money mechanics. Was you on here when I showed that?
Yeah, I was at work until 11 p.m. now. So I was in and out of stuff. I did see them. I took a screenshot of what you showed.
All right, so it shows you how there's two accounts. Right now, when you go open up a bank account, there's another account open called the master account in the Federal Reserve District you're upon. That master account at the Federal Reserve District is collecting accounts receivable. The receivable is interest, the expansion. They only required to hold 10%. The banks must loan out the 90. They can't keep it on the books. All right. You're entitled to that 90. They are entitled to hold the 10% reserve requirement. But we're abandoning the whole 100% expansion, not understanding that when you open up one account, there's two sets of books, a books at your bank, a books in the Federal Reserve District. All those banks are subsidiaries of the Federal Reserve District. They're just intermediaries on behalf of the Federal Reserve District, which is of the Federal Reserve Act. So they fiscal, FISCAL, and fiduciary agents. So your Bank of America is just a subsidiary of the fiscal fiduciary Federal Reserve Bank City. They just subsidiaries, they intermediaries for the central banks, which is nothing but a clearinghouse and a Fed wire. That's all it is. So
Oh, what about if you did a UCC already?
I don't get caught up into the UCCs because, once again, that is not the state. I mean, that's not an act of Congress. The UCC is the state usurping you.
Oh, okay. I got you.
May I have a question about those city taxes. So they're contracting with, they're offering you to do a contract, but when you get their coupon and you pay to the order on the back, do you pay to the order of the bank on the back of their coupon too? Or is
Whoever the issuer of the bill, that's who you giving it to. Who's ever the issuer of your bill. Listen, this is what's so funny. That bill is a security, and they sending it to us as a consignee. So they making us the consignee and making them the consignor, but it's supposed to be the other way around.
Yeah. So, but when you fill out your receipt, and you have to write a description on it, how do you write a description to a bill in that, from that nature?
All right, so
Because
this
it's
is
a tax
this is
bill.
what I
So
want
like,
everybody to do. Me, myself, I have those receipt books that you can get out of Walmart. They're not giving them with the yellow, white, and pink receipt no more because the pink is a pink sheet. It's a security, which supposed
that's
to
the one
go.
I got. I have
All
the
right.
one with the white, yellow,
So
and the pink.
you see how on there that's like a check. It's made
Right.
like a check. All right,
Right.
because the receipt is the real form of money. All right,
Mhm.
I send my receipts with my instrument to clear a
Okay.
debt. That's what I do all the time. Without the receipt,
So
it's nothing.
on this receipt, it says for, and it says for rent, and then it has, you can cross that out and then put for. And where it
Right.
says for, I put credits on the account.
I would write for for credit on account or for collection. All right. Look up the term for collection. All right. If y'all ever get that encyclopedia, go read what the collection is, because the cash is either collection or credit. All right. It's two different ways. Like I said, I'm not able to tell y'all everything all at once tonight, but I hope y'all got a pretty good comprehension of what I was sharing. Because
Thank you.
11:39.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I appreciate y'all.
Thank you very much.
If they ever invite me back, I'll come back. But I don't hope I don't have to run my mouth this much.
You know what, brother? We enjoyed you. You brought something different to the table, and we appreciate that. And not only you talked about it, you showed it to us. So we appreciate you. So we'll see you Monday at 8 o'clock with you're going to meet with the mortgage team only to help with some of these foreclosures.
Right, because the foreclosure is nothing but a fraud of them trying to stop your redemption of the interest of your estate. And your estate is much more than a credit. So I ain't gonna get into that now, but yeah, I'll say that for Monday.
Join the meeting. Thank you.
All right. Y'all have a good evening, and I'll see y'all when I see you.
Thank you. You guys.
Gratitude.
Love and
I'll
light.
reach out to you.
All right. All right, love.
Thank you.
All right, y'all have a good one.
That was beautiful. Did y'all enjoy that? And
That
don't
was
forget,
dope.
Yes, we did.
and look, don't forget the his cash app either.